Welcome to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and effectively, this is the show where we talk to very smart, interesting people such as yourself, Mr. Lemme Kno, and we try to walk through your life and we try to extract knowledge nuggets. And we all try to learn, and a lot of it tends to be related to the scene, Montreal scene, but it's really just anyone that's interesting. And because I mostly know artists, it kind of skews that way. But as this evolved and where you come into being like a super exciting one for me is that like it kind of turned into this effort to become more of a historian for the city and to try to capture the story of Montreal. And something I learned along this whole journey is some of the worst people to ask about the story of what happened were the rappers. They're great for hearing their story, but like you want to talk to the engineers and the video people and the sound. Those are the people that got the fucking story because they were like, I look at it like you're like the eyes. Like even at an event, I'm so busy paying attention to the shit I have to pay attention to as an artist that half the time can't even see it. Like imagine you're promoting the event. You have no fucking time to see it. You're the eyes. You're the one that's literally there seeing it all, and it's like, wow, this is actually such a special thing. You're not the first video person we've talked to, but you're the first like video person that can name drop a whole bunch of interesting people that are like, wow, for the era of the time that they come from. So just knowing that you were like, in a sense, a set of eyes that was specifically designed to just watch and pay attention to the details of this era makes you such an invaluable resource to the city of Montreal and everything, because I know how long you were around, and let's be real, you're still around and all of that. And we didn't even mention epic meal times. Whoops. But that's fucking cool too. No, I mean, it's cool because like for the sense of all the things you've been involved with that people have heard of, shit, that's actually like real nifty to think about and to sit there. Like you actually are on Wikipedia. You just are.
I think so.
You are. You're, I
I got
checked.
I got a I got a what's it called? What's the video one?
Um,
Uh
I don't know. Video
uh
Wikipedia.
uh where you get all your video accolades. They got me as a cameraman.
Nice.
Forget which one.
IMDb.
Anyway, IMDb, there you go.
That's dope. But yeah, I was like, because I checked just to make sure you were who I thought you were at first in regards to that part. And then anyway, I was like, yeah, no, because like then like even how we started this year, it was with the Murder Face album review because it was the 10-year anniversary, and you're attached to that. Like you're just everywhere. You're just all over fucking history, and it's fucking cool, and that makes
We
it
had
real
fun.
special with it. And with that though, we are going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but I do have like a token first question that I like to ask everybody because it kind of just gets the vibe rolling, and then we'll get into all your praising. He's like, I don't want to talk about myself, we're going to talk about other people, and I'm like, well, we're going to have to start with a little bit, especially with this question. So it's a bit of a story, but it goes with, my girlfriend is washing the dishes one time and she's dancing around listening to that Black Eyed Peas song, that I got a feeling, ooh, and she's like dancing, and I'm like, yo, it's crazy how now this is some exercise choresy kind of music, like that's what its purpose is in life now, because I can distinctly remember 10 years ago being in the bar 2 in the morning, jumping in circles, singing that same very tune, dancing around in a completely different era of life. And it got me thinking about like the vibes of music and how music isn't like really set in stone or stuck in time. And that also means that all of those club bangers that you're hearing today, that's the chores music of 10 years from now. There are kids that are going to grow up to chores listening to all of the club bangers of today. I thought that was a great thought, but it made me realize that when we think about our own musical journeys, and even if you were the eyes of it, you still had a musical journey, let's be real. It always like kind of starts before we get into it. Usually around puberty, we start to get into music and craft our own little identities in it. But really, our musical journeys start long before that. It starts when you're like born and you come into life, and then all the people around you, the families and the environments, there are sounds there. Like in my case, my dad's bumping these Led Zeppelin tapes, and my mom's buying those shitty disco tapes that have like the bad versions of the disco songs on it, and like all this other stuff. So it's a lot of tapes in my life, a lot of radio. Like, for some reason, Chris de Burgh was in the Cars and it was never in the apartment. Shit like that. Like, and it's just my brain went through all of that, and it made me realize that's really the foundation of it. Like, I'm really into dance music now, and it's probably because my dad made me listen to 90s dance music. Like all of these things have these correlations. So I thought it would be mad interesting if you could walk us through like a 5-year-old Lemme Knows musical landscape when you're super young, what it sounded like, the technologies, the vibes of that.
5, there was an Elvis cassette. There was a Jive Bunny cassette. 5 is young, man.
It is.
Like I can do like 11, 12, 13 because then I was at the mall buying my own shit. And like I remember that like it
What
was
were your
yesterday.
like parents into and stuff? Like, what was other people into?
Um my parents were very close with Aaron Rand, radio DJ, Q92, Aaron and Tasso in the morning. I don't know if you remember them,
I do.
but
Super
uh
nifty.
so that's my brother's godfather, and that's like close family friends growing up. So lot of records, DJ samples, thousands of records in my house. Like basement with records. There's stacks. I can show you in my place now. There's records everywhere. Like
Wow.
records were always around. But as far as one type of music, like my parents,
Nah,
no, it
this is
was everything.
great. You already gave us something golden. That's what we're doing. We don't know what you're gonna answer, but you just told us something
Yeah,
crazy interesting. Your parents is connected to the Aaron and Tasso people, and you basically growing up literally able to dig through crates, like it's digging into
yeah,
crates time of
yeah.
all genres.
I was scratching at 7 or 8 on records that I shouldn't have been scratching on because I just figured out what hip hop was. And like these are not Technique turntables that you're supposed to be scratching, and it's probably a Beatles record. Like I did a bad job when I was
Yo, tell us a bit about that. I mean, for you, this is all inherent stuff. So you have to assume that A, young people might be watching, B, people that aren't from here might be watching, and this is like, yo, these are great opportunities. Like, what song got you into hip hop?
younger. What song got me in? I mean, hold on. Turn on some lights here. The sun's going
No worries, man.
down.
You can tell he's a video guy right there. That's some video guy shit that never happens with those rappers. Well,
All right,
sometimes
it just
does.
gets dark when it's over. Song got me into hip hop. I mean, the first albums I ever bought, with the exception of Snow. Snow was a little bit before everything. I remember going to Fairview and picking up 36 Chambers, and my friend picking up Scarface the Diary. We're
Okay.
probably in grade 5 or 6, and we bought one at Music World, and then decided we were going to get a second one with a blank cassette, and we were going to dub the two so that we all two blank cassettes, and we each had a copy.
Mm.
Um, we went into HMV and we unraveled Scarface the Diary's plastic in HMV, and there was some kind of undercover there. And as we walked out, guy grabs me and like pulls me back into the store. And I remember being shook at first, but knowing that I didn't do anything wrong. And I said to him, no, like we're unraveling a tape that we bought across the hall. But if you want, in the garbage over there is the receipt. And we walked over to the garbage. And at that point, I had a little bit of attitude. And I said, put your hand in and grab the receipt. And he said, you put your hand in. I go, no. You're questioning me. Put your hand in. And the guy put his hand in the garbage. And he pulled out a receipt and said, sorry, guys. And I remember being like 11, 12 years old, being like, winner. I got
Nice.
one.
So,
Yeah.
wow, that was like, this is good shit. I know that you might
It had
not
nothing to
find
do
this
with it had
interesting.
nothing to do with music. But
No, I know, but this is how the interviews go. It's more like we want to know about Let Me Know, and all of the other
no,
stuff is secondary. And your
that
whole,
was my first hip hop purchase. I'm gonna say if I go like really deep
but it was more like
into
you
the
said that you discovered hip hop and you started scratching, and I'm like, that's nifty. And you said that happened before you bought that album, so I'm like,
that was 6, 7 years
so
old. Like
like
I
what?
knew what hip hop was.
How did that happen? Because that's super cool too. If you don't remember it,
Couldn't
it
even tell
makes
you.
sense, but it's fair. You're young. But man, just the idea of like a little 7, 8 year old you taking your mom's record player or whatever, like a regular ass one, and being like, "Fuck that," and fucking up the Beatles. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's an amazing thought when you really like take the time to unpackage that and consider what's actually being said there. Like that's not like a regular situation. That's like not everybody has that experience at least. So,
It was inherent in me. Two Live Crew was one of the first rap songs I ever heard. Banned in the USA,
mm,
and Banned in the USA is strictly about freedom of speech, and it's fuck Dolores Tucker and it's fuck anyone who isn't about that. And I remember always identifying with the underdog, and hip hop at that time was sold like cigarettes. You had to go behind the counter and like point and ask for it. So like, what is that? I want to know what that is right away. And not only that, like,
yeah, I didn't even
give
know
it to me.
that.
Like,
Look,
give it to me in abundance. It was. I remember going into the Biz, which later became Future Shop, and they used to print the parental advisory stickers as a sticker on the top of the CD. And I remember scratching off the sticker of Gravediggers and going to the cash, and the lady at the cash knew what it was, looks at my mom and says, there's supposed to be a sticker on this. Do you know what you're buying here? And I'm looking at that lady like, fuck you. Like, you're ruining the whole shit right now. And obviously the CD went back, and I didn't get Gravediggers that day, but I know the whole album off by heart. So I got it eventually.
So it's cool. No, but what's cool about these stories, because I know it might be kind of weird to delve on this stuff, but
I've never said this out loud.
We're into context, right? So I never really knew that back in the day hip hop was hidden, and like these little nuggets we can get that show some of the things that like you can't Google that. You're not Googling that anywhere. So unless somebody like you shares that memory and we can extract that knowledge nugget, it just gets lost to the annals of time, you know?
Just to put it into even better perspective, there was a time when hip hop didn't have its own section, and it was mixed in with the rock section, and you could find an Ice Cube or a Dr. Dre mixed into the rock section. And when hip hop or rap, it was called, right? Rap is the genre. It got its own section, but it was behind the cash in cassette form. And I'm pretty sure there were CDs at the time too. You might have been able to get them, but there was a rap section where you can point and grab what you want, and they'll hand it to you.
Yo, what up, Rico Blocks? Yeah, we're live, so
what up, Rico Block?
It's good to say
I haven't seen him
people. Yeah, he was one of those earlier interviews back when it was still a fledgling idea.
That's an OG in the game, 100%.
Maybes. Yeah, no, it was fun. I enjoyed having him here. He broke 4 hours. He really pushed it, and I was like,
No, we can't do 4 hours. There's a Knicks game on.
Don't worry about it. I don't know, but like I'm just saying, he went that far with it. But usually, like, you know, depends on the night. Some people are really into it. Some people are less into it.
Yeah, you never know. I have no hard outs today. It's whatever. There is a Knicks game, but you might just see the reflection. That's all.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. But if the shit's litty and like 15 to 30 people show up, I might be like, yo, bro, there's 30 people here. And then we keep going.
Yeah. No, I got you.
But nah,
no worries.
It's cool, man. I really appreciate you already. You're fucking killing it, in my opinion. You're doing exactly what we want out of this. I know the first question's weird, but it's meant to be the most open-ended, abstract shit ever, because you literally don't know some of the crazy cool stories we've got. And like, people put on full presentations and plays. They would act out these things. They were into dancing. Yo, did you ever dance when you were young? Were you a dancer?
Not good at it. I've never really, no. I remember dancing to Johnny Be Good, Back to the Future, and I jumped off the table, jumped off the sofa and hit a coffee table and split my head open. And that was the end of dancing as a kid. I remember being like, no, I don't get wild anymore. Like, I learned quickly, like, not to be reckless.
Oh man, that's a big lesson. That's a big lesson.
It was, 6, 7 years old, like I went like this and there was blood, and I'm like, oh, like you don't do that anymore.
What about drawing?
So yeah, like there was no wild dancing. There was none of that.
Were you a drawer? Very calm. Like a drawer? I don't know.
Art since day one. I did Trudy art classes in elementary school. This older lady would do these art classes. I did pastel and charcoal drawings. I got a couple. My mom still got a couple.
That's dope.
Cartooning. What was the guy's name? Like Ernest or something. He had a funny name. But I went to cartooning classes and drew a bunch of cartoons for a couple of years. I always liked art. Anything creative, I was always down with.
That's dope. So basically why we do this is we like to run through elements and just see what people are involved with. And usually, you know, you ended up with video, so it makes sense you'd be interested in art in some way. I find there's usually a correlation between visual people and the visual arts. And I would call anything video a visual people thing.
Video just happened. It was, I was told by many different people to pick a lane. And that was the lane at the time that made the best sense, like the most sense. Yeah, but it was a passion thing. It was more of a hobby, and it just became something.
Interesting. Well, we'll get to that with more detail.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
turn on another light. Keep talking.
All right, you do your thing. I love that. Like, I would just not even think one time to check my lighting beyond going live. I'll notice it after in editing. Yo, what's up, Adam Shemi? We were just watching a whole bunch of your shit on the stream. All of these old Adam Shemi videos from back in the day that like were capturing all this history that I'm so grateful you captured and put on the internet.
No editing, no videos happen without Shemi. Just so we're clear.
Yo.
He taught me yeah, none of it happens without him. So
That's big
salute.
love. So let's say
Hmm.
I forget to ask on purpose at first, but where are you from originally? Are you born here?
Yeah, West Island.
Straight up, what
Grew
part
up
of
in
the
Dollard
West?
des Ormeaux.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, man.
I spent a few years out in Dollard. I was in
Right, West Park area.
yeah, I was in Bucktown for about 5 years. I turned
There you go.
18
I used
over
to play
there.
ball there.
That was good.
Poolbrook and Sunnybrook. I used
Yeah,
to play ball out there.
I lived across the street from that IGA for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was like that's where I learned to drive. Yo, that is the best place to learn to drive because it was so fucking calm. Anyway,
Those little buildings, like the 2 3 story buildings
yeah,
across the street.
The brown and white ones there that were like super yeah, yeah, with the
H man used to live there.
that's yeah. I met him one time and I don't know him outside of meeting him one time. I followed him on Twitter and it's like he stopped using Twitter the day after I followed him. It was the
Oh no,
just the
I haven't spoken
coincidence.
to him in years, but stand up, dude. No, I'll tell you, the second show I ever did was with H man, and he took it so serious. It was so professional that like it made me step my game up because he wanted everything perfect and it had to be rehearsed. And since that performance, I was always like professionalism because of him.
Mm.
So pick up H man,
Yo, that's dope though.
super serious.
That's cool. That's cool. I met him that one time. I don't remember. I just remember his name was H Man, and I went by H Man in high school. And foolish me, that was the first thing I said to him. And I'm like, in hindsight, maybe not the
Mm,
smartest thing to say to a dude.
solid. No, he shows up with a videographer, with a manager, with people selling merch. He
Okay.
was he was way way ahead of his time, and he had it all lined up. I mean, I think it was just a matter of perseverance. Years. He did probably like 5 6 years of consistently doing this,
Yeah, that's
maybe
dope.
more. I could be wrong,
I mean,
but his team was so strong. He was so strong. It's a really good look. I
that's
like those guys.
that's dope. Like I personally am at this point where I just want to meet everybody that did anything. So it's exciting to hear you bring up names, especially that one who I do know but haven't thought of in like 8 years. Um, but like, let's say for you then, where did you go to high school? And what was high school like?
Uh,
Were you doing all this
so
creative shit?
I did 2 years hard time at WIC.
Mm, I
Um,
like how you
I
put
remember,
that.
yeah, no, I remember crying. It was the last time I like can remember like just bawling and telling my parents like it's not for me. Like, why are you paying for this? This is hell. Like, I'm getting into trouble every day. I got like a 62 overall. I'm not getting along with anybody. I don't really have a lot of friends. Like, it was miserable for me. I think there's maybe 2 people that that I still am in touch with from there.
Right.
Um, and grade 9, my entire world changed. I went to Lindsay.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought I was going to make the NBA.
Wick is
And
West Island something something. It's
yeah, yeah, it was a private school. I was playing basketball every single second of the day, and I thought literally I was going to be a professional ball player. Um, I got to Lindsay. I quickly realized that there's a lot better people out there. But played a lot of basketball.
that's funny.
Won a city championship in 97, 98. I'm dating myself, but yeah, won a city championship. I was an athlete. I was an athlete all through high school. I hung out with like all the ball players, and we were going away for tournaments and stuff. It was, I think maybe I smoked like 2 doobies. You know what I mean? Like grade 9, for like a week, I sold pot until I got punched in the face. And I was like, okay, it's not for me. I was an athlete. I was an athlete. I wasn't heavy consumer at the time as far as uh, any substances or anything like that.
I mean,
That came later.
you're a young person. You're not supposed to be doing all the bad stuffs at like
Right. No, but the
teenagers.
girls were, and some of the dudes were too. But
I like how your
um,
first response is the girls were. That's a good statement.
they were. They were. I remember girls were coming out of the bathroom with nosebleeds and shit. Like, it was public school. It
Listen,
was some real shit happening.
I went to public school and I was oblivious. So there was real shit happening around me and I had no idea. And then I thought back to high school and I'm like, oh, later on in life. But I went to Wager, so it was a
Hmm.
interesting experience to be there.
It's not around anymore, eh?
Nah, I was in the last grad class, and on the
There
last
you go.
one of the last things they did is they cleared the reserve money and took us out of LaRonde. It was fucking dope. We got a free
There
trip
you
to
go.
LaRonde as a school.
Amazing.
I don't know. It was Wager. It was an experience.
That's it.
I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you if not for Wager. like, and the cultural experience of just being surrounded
That's
by
it.
so
Like
many different
the
kinds of
people, the
people.
people that I met, the people that I met in public school are my friends to this day, and it's such an eclectic, diverse group. I mean, Jamaican, Trinidadian, Indian, Greek, like, and these are my best friends. These are the people that I like. This is the group chat. You know what I mean? This is the
Mm,
WhatsApp chat, and like, there's like one of every demographic in that chat. Like, it's crazy.
that's fresh.
Um, very fortunate to just grow up in a city and in a school where there was just so many different ethnicities, diversity, and how we were able to click from basketball. I mean, that's really what it is. Is we all had a common interest, and that's how we became friends. It was cool,
Yeah, that's fresh.
special.
I used to bond with people over music for real. It was like the same kind of deal, but it was all music in my life. It wasn't like we didn't have no cool battle rap shits, but yo, Wigger was like a tenth the size of fucking Lindsay Place in terms of population. It was like fucking tiny school. Like my brother ended up going to Lindsay Place, and I found out how big this shit was. I don't think it was like a tenth, but it was like way bigger. I'm like, wait, there are schools that have more than 300 people in Montreal?
Oh no, no, we had over 200 in our graduating class.
Yeah,
We had one of the biggest.
that's
There
like I
was
was
there was
saying.
200 and something kids graduating when I graduated. I didn't know anybody. I knew my 17 people, and that was it.
Yo, that is
Like,
serious. Like, it's like just to me, it's like it's so interesting just to hear that because like yo, we closed because of low population. Like it went from like 300 and change for the whole school my first year to the point where they opened a school under us, the John Grant, and then like by the end of it, my grad class is like 40 something people.
right,
So it's like you knew
wild,
everybody. The
complete
whole
opposite.
no secrets. The whole school knows everything about everyone. You even knew the grade 7 kids because literally you just ended up learning their names because there was no.
I didn't know anybody. To this day, I'm still like, I have a friend Josh who's constantly telling me who's who, and if I ever run into anyone, I gotta call him or have him close so that I could be like, where do I know this person? Because I didn't know anybody. I got there in grade 9. It's Point Claire. All these cliques are already formed, and I'm just like, I'm here now. And luckily, I gravitated towards a ball team, but it was interesting. It's
Yo,
definitely interesting.
Deli Dells is like my high school grad class is bigger than your whole school. I'm like, fair enough. I didn't actually. Yo, that's it's such a crazy experience to think about. Now I'm gonna have to ponder on that after. That's so. In high school, were you involved in like other stuff than sports? Like, are you a writer of any kind? Like, do you do anything? Or you also are you a reader? Let's go with that too.
Well, I'll start with the writing side of things. We were all influenced by hip hop, obviously, and we would write, but we wouldn't rap. We were kind of pussy with it, and I know that the
Try.
generations after would like have like these ciphers and these like downstairs like underneath the gym like battles and stuff. We weren't there. We were like, I would write a verse and then give it to the person about them, and then they would write it back like a note. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I know that life.
it was kind of corny, but it was definitely raps. There was definitely like bars being spit, and like people would know them, and like these papers would be passed around throughout this like the group, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that was writing. I mean, I'm trying to think, reading like whatever Tupac told me to read, that's what I read when I was younger. So like Machiavelli, Art of War, like
Yo,
any type of.
nobody said that. You're the
What do you mean?
first, like, well, I mean, of all the interviews I've done, you're the first person to be like, Tupac said, read it, so I read it. That is a first
Yeah,
for me. It was very profound. I guess in my whole life, nobody has said that to me.
I read Art of War probably 25 times just because I still don't get everything. Like that book, you can read 100 times and you won't get every word. It's a war strategy book. It's talking about everything from terrain to strength. It's insane how much information is there, and you can relate it to everyday life.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different translations of it too. But Tupac told me to read Art of War, so I remember reading that one when I was young, high school. Um, no, we were reading The Source, Slam Magazine, and The Source. Those were the two. Sometimes XXL.
Oh,
It
shit.
was, yeah,
So you grew up
I knew
like
Slam.
with the hip hop magazine? Because I'm like a little younger than you. So like I went to high school 2000 to 2005. By then, the source is not the source quite like the source that you had.
No, Source was a Bible. Source was like if someone got 5 mics, you buy that album right now. That
Yeah.
was it was a crucial part of it, and you'd run for the new copy. Like people would show up with the new copy, and you're going to Fairview and scooping it like after school.
Mm.
Like it was an important part of it.
No, it's dope though. It's dope to see that it had prevalence here. Honestly, hip hop magazines don't come up a lot, so it's cool that you brought it up.
Yeah, man.
We all online too, or is it too early for the internet yet?
Online was the Wild West. Online was bootlegs. There was MIRC. There was Instant Messenger, MSN, and then there was like all the Napsters and the LimeWires. So people were just filling up their computers with bootlegs. It was that era. Um, I remember there was a couple dudes who knew a couple things that I didn't know. I don't know if you know IRC, like that old school chat.
So I know what it is, but like I come into it like right after it stops being cool and MSN Messenger's the shit.
So I no, I'm not talking about ICQ. I'm talking about IRC,
Oh,
MIRC.
what's
This is a
MIRC?
program that's like
Maybe I
it's
don't know what
DOS
you're talking
chronicles.
about.
It's CD space. You're typing in DOS, but you're looking at people's directories. It's file sharing before file sharing. How about that? Where
I
you
c-
can go into people's computers and pick what you want and then just download it off their computer. And
yeah,
they're giving you free access to it.
okay,
So
I can
I remember there was
contextualize
stuff.
that.
I remember there was stuff that was circulating that like you couldn't even find today. Like there was Machiavelli 5, 6, 7, all the way through 15, and like these are unreleased Tupac albums that never saw the light of day that exist to this day. Um, so there was this guy named Bilal, and Bilal was Sikh, and he was recruiting me to come to the mosque. I'm getting off subject here,
Nah, you're
but
fine.
he
This is
really
what the show is.
he wanted me to come to the mosque, and I wanted access to these downloads of like these Tupac albums. So we kind of traded off once, where like he solicited like his religion, and I solicited what I needed, and we both got what we wanted. I ended up going to the mosque with him, and I ended up getting about 15 Tupac albums out of the deal. And I wore a Sikh bracelet for a while in high school just to represent like the team
Hmm.
on like some like these are my homies. But Bilal had access to things that nobody should have access to, like these unreleased albums that probably still exist that no one has. And I remember going to the mosque in exchange for Tupac albums. It's a pretty wild one.
Yo, that's serious though, cause like I read this book about that bootlegging era and how they would get stuff and this crazy like one of the distribution centers like where the discs actually got created. It was this whole operation of leaking that went on for a minute before it finally got busted, and they kept saying IRSC. I think that's where I heard the term, and you just like added a lot of context there. But yeah, there's this you just said you listened to a bunch of Pac that literally none of us are ever gonna hear, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have access to today.
There was about 15 Machiavelli albums of like unreleased, unfinished songs, maybe 10. It was stupid. It was ridiculous how much unreleased music was available at that time, and stuff that would come out prior to the release date too. So like, if you had access to certain people's computers at that time, you're getting albums weeks, if not months, before they drop. No track lists. You make up your own song names and you write them on the back of like a piece of paper. And it's someone who stole it out of the studio
Yo,
and
that's
started
like,
spreading it.
I mean, effectively, that's like, yeah, I wonder how many people even know about all these. Well, I mean, in particular, the Pac albums. Like, we all know he recorded a bunch of stuff, but like, I wonder how many people know about this shit. Or even, like, I know there's some documentation on the like leaking early copies, but I never really considered lost music. Like, how much music just exists that's out there that nobody's gonna hear.
Hundreds of songs.
I guess
Hundreds.
that's serious though. Yo, what's
Yeah.
up, Golden Jenny? Um, Wow, man, you really this is cool. I like this because it's like this is how like the '90s and early 2000s was, right? Like this is effectively a huge time capsule into an actual way that people in the know would acquire music. Like I'm sure DJs would be looking for these people. I'm sure lots of people would be like, I mean, if they were in the know. Like, I'm just trying to imagine here. I'm not always right,
Mm-hmm.
but like man, that's cool because that's how the internet starts before it evolves into the Napster situation and then everything else that comes
This
after
is
it.
this is before Napster, and during Napster, when people were on Napster searching actual songs or albums, we people were still on IRC, uh, using that CD space and then dir slash and just going through these archives of people's computers with albums and albums and albums, and then you just pick the one you want, and download it direct from their computer. It was wild,
Yeah,
way above like before its time.
that's super cool. I'm still like reveling in how much music. Like, do you remember any of this Pac shit, or is it like some shit that's lost to your memory of time?
A lot of it was unfinished. A lot of it was under the name Machiavelli or Machiavelli, whatever he went under. But I think it was recorded during that time frame where he was fresh out of jail and just recording every single day, all day, every day. Um, I like there's only like a 3 or 4 year span, right? Like from when he got out of jail to when he died. So it had to have been during that time.
Right.
It's only during a small, like
But
three, 4 year span.
that's still so many albums. Fair enough. Uh, so I guess after high school, what ends up happening for you? Or
Asia,
so what Sejak
in
do you go to?
Dawson. I didn't pay attention. I never went to Dawson. Like I went to Dawson, but I would show up with my bag and my books and then never end up in class and end up on a rooftop smoking or whatever I was up to. Um, I didn't like Dawson. I didn't get around. I didn't get along with a lot of people. It was reminiscent of Wick. It was just like I hate to say this, but like just there's too many white people around. I mean, it's like it made me uncomfortable. Like the amount of like rich people that were around me, and I'm not from that
Yeah,
life, so it's
I
like
literally went through the same thing at Abbott. I went from Wager. You gotta understand, 44 people or whatever in my grad class, 11 of them are white. Okay, it's not like whatever. There's just hard numbers. And then I go to Abbott, where it's like 90% white, and it took me like 6 months to like get to like I don't know to get comfortable. You could say like it was a
I
hard
never got comfortable,
it was a hard experience to transition into that. So when you say that, I'm like, yo, I get that proper.
right? Yeah, Dawson. I mean, I tried out for the basketball team. By then, I was smoking weed and eventually smoking cigarettes, even because I just had too much time on my hands. But yeah, it was like I hung out with certain friends when I wanted to, but majority of the time was sitting outside just by myself, like kind of being like, nah, I'm not feeling this. And after like 2 years, I just stopped going, and I was working full time. It was I was I was a suit. I was a corporate salesman for a bit.
Nice.
Yeah, I worked for Rogers. I started at Rogers when I was 15 at Place Vertu, and through high school and then all through CEGEP, I worked at Rogers until I was like corporate account Rogers and selling to companies and getting them like 20, 30, 40 lines at a time. It was interesting. It was a fun period.
I like how your like word for it is interesting. I imagine that it's like the knowledge gain that is really what's reminiscent of that, or the experience was powerful.
Sales in general was a fun time. I worked in sales for 12 years, and at one point it was like all I cared about was money and make $1 million, and there wasn't even any thought about me or happiness or any of that. It was literally just money, and that's what it was for a long, long time. And I actually had knee surgery, and it changed the entire course. I was 260 pounds. I was selling and fat, and I had reconstructive knee surgery, and I was bedridden for a couple of months, like fucked up, and lost a lot of weight, grew the beard out, and stopped going to work, and haven't gone back to work since. Now I do what I want. That
So
was that was 25, 26.
so how do you
It was
get
I call
like so how do you get involved with videoing and the scenes and all the different stuff you get up to? Like, at what point is
it
that
was it was
like
around that time. It was around that time. I was working at Dormez-vous. I was making probably 70, $80,000 a year as a corp as a retail salesman working in a store, and I was making that kind of money. I was 25, 26, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I couldn't do it. I didn't make the mattress. I didn't want to sell it to the person. I just like so when after I came back after the knee surgery, my suit didn't fit. I had this big beard. I was just like, no, no, like I don't work here anymore. Like just take whatever you want for free. Like you can go. I was giving them away, and my buddy Josh put me in contact with uh, a dentist. Okay, you ready for this? It was a dentist. I called him Dentist of the Stars. He was in Ile des Sœurs, and he would pick you up with a limousine and order you sushi, and you sit and like watch a movie, and then he'd clean your teeth, kind of thing. It was like rich and famous dentist, right? But the dude had a recording studio in Saint Michel, and when he wasn't with his family and he wanted to get away from dentistry, he would go and play around in his abandoned church that he redid with all his toys in it. And I had access to this through a friend. So we're talking about an abandoned church in Saint Michel with about $3-4 million insured equipment inside of it. Anything you've ever imagined. Analog preamps, Abbey Roads, the stuff that the Beatles recorded on, Newman U87s, all kinds of Fenders and Stratocasters, the best drum sets, the best microphones, you name it, it's all there. And the guy said to me and my buddy Josh, he said, just give me 50% and you have access and like do what you want. He's like, you can't smoke, you can't drink in there, but if you're respectful, it's yours and like enjoy. And I did that for about a year, maybe a little more, where I ran a recording studio with no previous knowledge of a recording studio. So that's where I met everybody from Sammy Baghdad to Dutch to Full Course. I mean, you name it, they all came through those doors, and most of them just saw the place and said, yeah, we have our spot, but it's cool. I mean, I was new to the game, and you're not going to just become someone's engineer / recording studio. You got to develop a rapport, and that's what I did. I started developing rapport.
That was big what you just said. You're not just going to become somebody's recording engineer. You got to develop a rapport first.
H-Man said that. I remember H-Man, the first time I met him, and he knew me through the West Island, but we weren't friends. It was just mutual people. And he sat down and he's like, listen, I don't know you. He's like, maybe I'll know you, but if you think I'm going to give you money, he's like, no. He's like, I have people that I've been working with for years that I give money to do my shit. Like, why would I do that with you? And I'm like, okay. Makes, like you said, it's big knowledge. And that was H-Man. And I remember Hodges coming through and working. He was one of the first ones. Mr. Wells coming through and recording an entire album. This girl named Jill recorded an entire album there. A lot of spoken word stuff. But Hodges was the big break. Hodges was like, oh, like we know David Hodges, Josh and I, my partner, but we don't know him though. And Hodges was like, I like this place. And we were in Saint Michel, like on the cusp of Montreal Nord. There's a lot of Haitian people in that area. And Don Carnage is working out of the studio. Big up Don, who's a Montreal legend we could talk about later. But so it was during the hurricane in Haiti, right? Earthquake, excuse me. Haiti had a big earthquake, and Hodges did a song called Songs of Freedom, and he recorded the song in the studio with a bunch of like underprivileged kids that never got to see a recording studio. They're all from like broken homes or orphans and stuff. It was just like a really special afternoon, and we recorded that song. And then he's made a music video, and all the proceeds of that song went to the earthquake relief. So that was the first time I worked with Hodges and spawned a friendship / business partnership that lasted till this day. So that's the best thing that came out of that studio. But I'll give you one more. I remember sitting with Full Course. You know Richie?
I do not.
Okay, so one half of Lab Noise. You remember those Lab Noise videos with all the freestyles and stuff? If not, you got to go check those.
No, I know what they are because of Logic's.
Okay, awesome. So Richie's one half of Lab Noise. Unbelievable human being, one of my favorite people in forget about rap, Montreal. He sat down with Josh and I at House of Elliott was the name of the studio. And he said, like, you guys want to be engineers, but you're talking about being doing shows and videos and all these. He's like, you got to pick one. Because like I had such hopes and dreams and aspirations, and I gave him anyone who'd walk in, I'd give him my whole playbook and be like, which one do you want to do? And Full Course was like, no. He's like, one thing at a time. He's like, you want to do shows, do shows. You want to do studios, do studios. But you're stretching yourself too thin, and you're not going to be able to make like a name for yourself if you come in as a jack of all trades. And that's what kind of influenced me to want to do the more promotion side of things. That's when he said, you're going to meet Dutch, and you're going to meet these people. And he put me on to these people, and I ended up becoming friends with them years later. But the original one was the studio, and then it became shows. And Richie was a main reason why those West is Majors happened, why all the Hodges shows happened, was Richie saying, you got to pick a lane that you're comfortable with. And me reading the Pro Tools manual, it would take years for me to figure out how to engineer properly and do the things I want to do for these artists. I couldn't. So shift, quick pivot, and it became rap shows really quickly. And rap shows lasted for, I mean, all through Epic Mealtime. We were still doing shows. I mean, the peak of rap shows was that shitty bar that you performed at. We had Down with Webster perform on a Friday night, and they did the Bell Center on the Saturday night. Nice. So I mean, we did some crazy things there.
We're gonna have to go through a lot more detail than that. So what happens? People start to go through stuff, and then they start speeding up. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Okay, like now we're at like some good shit. Like you can't gloss over Epic Mealtime. You can just like throw that in. Like I mean, you don't have to like spend a million years on it, but there's a lot of how did you go from a guy in a church studio to being a video dude on the fucking all these other like. So, there's a lot of things that got you know.
So while I was doing the studio, Harley was making videos. Harley was our friend. I mean, he lived 3 blocks away. All of Epic Mealtime lived 3 blocks from each other. We all knew each other. If we weren't best friends, we knew each other kind of thing. And Harley was a video guy. And as I started to meet all these different rappers, Harley would get involved and do the videos. We got to be careful here, but a lot of people's first videos or some of their first videos were shot by Harley pre-Epic Mealtime.
Okay.
There's stuff that still exists online. It's funny to see to this day, but it kind of shifted from studios to I'm doing rap shows, Harley's filming the rap shows, then we're doing rap videos, and then it came to a point where we were like, we don't want to film other people's videos and chase them for money anymore. It's just not a good look. So we started making our own rap videos, and they were like parody. They're online. A lot of them were taken down, but there's probably 2 or 3 that are just like me, my brother, Harley rapping, but like parody Lonely Island Boys kind of rap. We did a song called Goatee Beard or Nothing. So instead of Beamer, Benz, or Bentley, we did Goatee Beard or Nothing. And it was like one of us had a beard, one of us had a corny shit. But we started doing a bunch of those, and we caught a bug for like doing our own production as opposed to doing it for someone else. And natural progression was we're sitting there stoned in my backyard, Harley's backyard, and we're just talking about gluttony and fat foods that people, and there was a website called This Is Why You're Fat. And we went on this site and we saw these big monstrous creations. And we said, you know what, we already cook like assholes and we eat like assholes. Let's try one. And we didn't have a name. We didn't know what it was. We ordered a extra large Maury's, and we threw a bunch of Burger King and McDonald's and fries and nuggets on the pizza, and then put more cheese and put it back in the oven. And I remember trying to get laid and Harley calling me being like, yo, come, we're filming this pizza video. And I'm like, nah. Like, I got this girl here, leave me alone. And this was the first Epic Mealtime that exists today. And he calls Alex and he's like, Alex, come, we're going to eat the pizza video. And Alex ends up being Muscle's Glasses. But I showed up a bit later with the chick. We ate it off camera. And the video sat on Harley's computer for like 5-6 months. This is like beginning of the summer. And by like September, October, we were like, we got to put this video out. We got to do something with it. And we said, if it gets like 10,000 hits, we'll do another one. And it got like 50, 100,000 in a couple days. Dude, and we were like, oh, fuck. Fuck.
That shit was like, you gotta understand, for me, I'm at Abbott smoking a bunch of weed and shit.
It was perfect for that time.
Epic Mealtime comes out. And like, we're saying from the jump, because I'm at Abbott, so like that shit hit us and we pushed it viral. My brother just
left.
You know, like,
my brother probably just left.
Who's your brother?
Tyler.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Shit, okay.
Tyler just left probably Abbott, right? He's
a
couple years older than you.
I'm 33, so I don't know how old he is exactly.
Yeah. He's around there. Maybe he's a little bit younger then. So Tyler might still be at Abbott.
Fair. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that shit's like floating around crazy. I remember I met him at a bar one time, and I had no idea who he was, but he was hot, and I did not know who he was, and he was not thrilled that I did not know who he was. That is my first memory of Tyler. I mean, come on, we're drunk at a bar at 2 a.m. It's all fair game.
Right.
Like, I'm not. This is not a story of malice. This is a story of it was like the first time in my life I'd ever met anybody with a buzz who was like, "How you?" And I'm like, "Yo, I just rapped," and he's like, I'm a fucking rat, you know, like, and it's not like in a negative. It's just more like, but yo, you gotta, you know how it is, like when you're just like feeling yourself, and then the next guy's feeling himself, and that was my.
That's funny.
But yo,
I'll remind them.
since then, it's been like that guy is so interesting, and I think he's so cool. Like I fucks with him. He has so many good songs and
Tyler,
shit. Yeah, yeah. Like he's a cool guy
he's
in my
great.
opinion. I just that's my first memory of him drunk, like all of
I would
it.
say I would say he's my favorite person.
I respect that. That's real.
Yeah,
That's cool. If your brother's your favorite person, that's a blessed thing. That
salute
is
Tyler.
blessed as
I would say
fuck.
so.
And he's
Hmm.
yo, you guys are a talented family. If you don't know Tyler Lemko, y'all should go like check him out. The last thing I saw him is when he did the political campaign pictures he was doing
He
there.
ran for mayor.
Yeah, I don't know if it was sincere or not, but that was one of the most amazing things I'd seen.
The first time he did it was because he just wanted to do it. He put up a bunch of signs. But the second time he actually ran for
Oh
mayor, he
shit.
was on the ballot. He had 20, 2,500, 2,200 votes. Like he was legitimately a candidate to the point where Valerie Plante called him and said, like, if you concede, there's a place for you, like in my cabinet or whatever it's called. And he's like, no, he's like, I just want to be mayor. I don't want to work in politics. Like,
That's hilarious. Yeah, I really like him though. But that's the type of
I,
shit that I like. Yo, all this time later, being able to come up with something cool. Like, how do you get 2,500 people to vote for you in a real election? That's
right?
serious.
If he does it again, he wins.
I mean, that's cool. And I'm saying that for
Yeah.
I'd like campaign for him and push it on some. I'd rather Tyler get in than some of the other options. That's my personal
Mm-hmm.
political opinion. As a person who got
I think it's
informed on Montreal politics.
mm-hmm.
um, but that's so cool, dude. Like just that how it started too. Like y'all just got stoned. You saw the thing on the YouTube, or the whatever the site is, because YouTube is
We came
basically.
up with the name because we knew that there was two words that existed that worked. It was fail and epic at the time. And we weren't fail, so we had to be epic. So we just threw the mealtime at the end, and within days, copyrighted, t-shirts, let's go. I think by the third, fourth video, it was like it was a job already. Not everyone was working full time at it, but we
But you
knew that this was going to be a thing.
But this is like one of those rare moments of internet success of purely how to do it fucking right. Because people might not know how culturally relevant this shit became, at least in Montreal. I would argue, like, if you were a young person, you knew exactly what the fuck it was. You consumed it, and there's a lot of people who copped that merch. I saw that fucking bacon bits and whatever shirt. That shit was so.
It's
It was the hottest shit. It was everywhere, at least in Sejep's.
um, I mean, for the time, it was trendy, right? You're talking
Yo, this is
bacon and the boys and cooking. We were
no,
the
this
first
is one
show.
particular shirt I remember y'all sold that went viral and like
Bacon.
yeah, that one. Oh my gosh, dude, it was like fucking everywhere. Like that is not a thing that people do normally, even when they are successful. Like you were culturally
So
relevant to the city.
the thing that we did that no one else was doing at the time, and when I say that I mean like YouTube, no one else was doing, is they didn't have a show. They had a camera and they'd talk, or they'd edit some little like sketch of sorts, but they didn't have a formatted show with an intro and like a body and then an outro. It wasn't a show, and we were the only ones at the time who had a show. So
Hmm.
imagine being the first show on YouTube and consistently doing it every single Tuesday for 10 plus years. Like that's a recipe right there that if you, first of all, come up with something that doesn't exist and then do it consistently on a platform that's brand new, forget about it. Like we were doing 1 million in a day every single time we put out a video. Think about that. Like to this day, I still can't fathom 1 million in a day minimum every time a video dropped.
Yeah, man, it was like you. Like I don't know. Like I was not the hugest consumer of the content because it just made me want to eat
It's
it.
definitely dated now.
No, it's more. I never. Okay, like food porn was like the shit at the time. I used to like go to homies' cribs and they would like smoke joints and watch people cook food, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I personally never empathized with this activity, and it was never something I sought out. Like I'm like, let's do anything else. Would be my general feelings during cooking shows. Even my girlfriend like watches the cake competitions, and I'm like, I'm never gonna eat this food. It's not.
Do you
It's
cook?
not really. No, I'm not
So there
that
it
into
is.
it. So, and
There it
I
is.
accept all of that is fair. So but I mean, it was porn. you guys made porn. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like regular. It felt like shit. I'm sure we did some bullshit. I'm certain at some point or another we made our own bootleg, low budget, epic mealtime. And I say low budget because I'm like
Thank you.
18. So like to me it was big. Like, and that's why I dwell on it so much, because I don't know if you know how big it was for us. Like,
I mean, it took me all around the world. So yeah, it was a big fucking deal, but uh, it was short lived, and it was short lived in the sense that like we had the A team, and it just kind of like, if you look at it, Tyler and Alex were only there for like 10, 15 episodes. Shit was around for years and years and years. All the fun stuff that I got to do, I'm kind of like, I feel bad that we all didn't get to experience, you know, the fun parts, the tours and the traveling and stuff like that. There was only a couple people that got to experience the Japans, you know what I mean, or like whatever the fuck else happened. Like,
yeah.
It's as if the Beatles were cut short, and they were. The Beatles were cut short also. It's as if Wu was like done after the second album or the first album. It's like we had a lot to do. There was supposed to be like 5, 6, 7, 10 shows. It was supposed to be like careers. That's what I always thought. But hey, cry over spilt milk. We had a great time. Thank you to everyone involved. We had a great time doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing but good things to say is the truth.
Nah, but like even sharing your experience, I know it's complicated. I know you're worried that somebody's gonna watch it, feel away, whatever happens with it, and I don't know what ramifications come from words that get said sometimes. But the truth is, in moments like that, we don't know all the details. You didn't really say anything like that. You never put anybody under the bus. It's complicated is usually how it goes sometimes. And then you got crazy experiences out of it, but regardless of that, it was you and your squad that sat there and created this dope thing. I didn't
My
watch,
closest friends.
but
If you look at the original team,
but
it's the closest people to me.
So when I think of epic meal times, and I can say this, I don't think of like the what came next. I think of that shit that was grassroots, that looked like it was filmed literally where I lived, because it was fucking not far from where I was living at the time. Like, y'all probably went to restaurants I went to, and like Bonnie, my girlfriend, said in the chat, like, yo, like people were rooting for y'all. And then it got really big and it got really formal. And let's be real, there's only so many times you can watch this shit before like you're like, I mean, for me,
Yeah,
at least,
exactly. No, 10 years later, dude, when I was there, I remember counting the episodes and being like, we have like double the amount of episodes as Seinfeld.
that's a
You know,
lot.
it's like, it's way too many episodes.
I
I
mean,
mean, too many. It
I
paid the
don't.
bills.
I mean, I don't even know if too many is a thing. I think it's a cool ass concept, and I think I've seen some of the more high budget later on ones here and there, and I'm like, oh, that's what the show became. Because you get curious, you're like, is Epic Mealtime still around? And then you peruse through it, and it's like you get that moment of like, that's cool. Like that's what I was
Mhm.
always left with. Like you didn't want to go and see like it wasn't doing it, like it feels cool to see it like to this day, and whatever. So like to me it's like there's an extra
It's
special part
homegrown.
of me that was like, yo, a dude from that era, Epic Mealtime, is sitting, there's a part of me that's a little like 18-year-old starstruck at that, I can't help it. My whole life I added this guy to Facebook over that shit. I was
Yeah.
like, yo, they're on Epic Mealtime. I swear that happened.
I, I remember the first time it hit was going to Fairview. It was like the fourth or fifth episode. And we're in wherever, some store, and kids are like running behind the racks of clothes and like screaming and then running out of the store. And we were like, oh, like people recognize us for the first time.
Yeah.
It was a wild feeling. It was cool to like, and then after that it was over. It's like you go to Fairview, you're taking pictures and signing autographs. But there was that one first one where it was like, oh shit, like people recognize us and like we don't know them, you know? It's wild.
Shout out Vince Price being in the chat. I just popped
What
in.
up, Vince? Vince was over last weekend.
Yo, Vince is dope. Vince is my new homeboy.
We
Secretly.
just finished filming, actually over a couple days ago, but we finished filming a Shell's music video. Shell's from
Oh,
Murderfin.
that's fresh. That's cool. I know
Yeah,
who that is because Vince has been schooling me. Me and Vince is my cipher buddy. Like me and Vince are now involved as like partners and shit.
Vince is my
And
brother. That's my dude.
Mans gave me the freshest beat I ever bought in my entire life.
Salute.
Yeah. So yeah, as Ismail said, best producer in Montreal. I said as Ismail said because I don't want to be on wax saying that, but Ismail says that, and it's on the
Up
screen.
there, up there, in my top five,
Yo, actually,
without a doubt.
Vince Price is fucking great though. I don't know a single person who doesn't love his beats. That's not the point. We've given Vince Price his flowers. We can go back to you, and we did talk a bit about the Epic Mealtime. Your role is filming. That's all clear. Y'all can go watch the YouTube, see what he actually did in action. I'm certain now that there's a whole other avenue that's happening throughout this point because you're throwing shows, and we didn't really go down that branch. We went down the other branch.
We didn't.
So let's
We
go
didn't.
back
That's
to
the
the.
fun.
We got it out, and now we can get into the good shit. It's like eating the veggies first, ironically.
Okay.
But but
Um,
yeah. So how, let's
during that era, the 2010s, let's call it, like the early 2010s. Um, just to give context, I was DJing. I was uh, I was heavily consuming at the time. Um, Epic Mealtime was popping, but I didn't have a job. I'd show up to the filming and kind of just like hang out with my friends, play 2K, maybe tell a joke or two, and it would get used on camera as like someone else said it. But like I was getting paid to literally hang out, and I needed to find my own way. Like I had to figure out what I'm gonna do, because Epic Mealtime is there. There's a guy filming, there's a guy in front of the camera, there's a guy cooking. I'm one of the homies. I'm conniver. I'm like the seventh guy on the track. Like I don't like being Scottie Pippen, let alone Steve Kerr. So I had to find my own thing, and just prior was the studio with Hodges and SRH and Crazy K and Coons and Shemi and these guys, and they're a clique. Like you were talking about before I came on, how like the collective, that was their name. They were the Group Therapy Collective. It was 7 guys that all came together that had common interests in rapping on the same tracks. So like it was Griselda, Wu-Tang before that. I mean, before Wu-Tang it wasn't, but you know what I mean? It was a bunch of dudes from around the same area who grew up all together, and they all rapped. So why wouldn't they rap together? And I kind of gravitated towards them based on the fact that Hodges and I were already working together at the studio. And I would sit in sessions, I would film sessions, recording sessions. I would just politic with Hodges for hours about like what the moves are. And eventually we came up with shows. I was already, sorry, excuse me. I did 2 or 3 shows prior with the studio, and then Hodges and I started working together. We did, I'm messing up the timelines, dude.
it's all right. It's going way back. We're
Um,
talking a decade ago. It's okay to mess up the
yeah, no,
timelines.
I'm trying to, okay, so when I'm at the recording studio, I'm doing a couple shows with Josh. We had this name called Suits and Sweatpants, and we did shows called Sunday Night Primetime, and those were at Bourbon. And those shows were Black Mob, Got That Boys, uh, Crazy K performed, I think at one, Wells performed. And we did a couple of those Sunday Night Primetimes. That's where I met H-Man. We did that show. That Sunday Night Primetime allowed me to make friends with enough rappers and see that there was enough of a demand there that I wanted to kind of like take it up a notch. And I remember sitting in my parents' backyard with Crazy K, Hodges, Shemi, that whole like that clique, and coming up with West is Major, coming up with the name, coming up with the idea. It wasn't me. It was a collective of people that all wanted to see other people as like opposed to themselves perform in the West. We knew that the West had great venues and that they were venues that wouldn't be fucked with. It's not like going downtown where certain people show up and next thing you know, you got cops or special gang police. No one's coming to the West Island. So we had a little bit more leeway. And I already had Bourbon secured. We did a couple shows there already. So the first show you played it was Crazy K as the headliner. It was Mr. Wells. Crazy and I went a couple times to K103. We spoke to Don. We spoke to Nick. And they kind of gave us the blessing that like they're going to be there as part of the show, and we put their logo on the first flyer. Um, I think the second show got a little bit more, like we upped the ante, because I remember going to like find Borden on Walkley and like hand him tickets, and like we went out of our way to like pre-sell tickets for that event, and it was probably like 350 people at the second West is Major, and there was probably about 200 people in the parking lot that didn't pay and waited till 12 o'clock and then went in. And I remember getting a call from Bourbon the following day and being like, my entire backyard is riddled with Heineken bottles. My entire parking lot is riddled with Heineken bottles, and I don't sell Heineken. He's like, we can't do like, it was reckless. It was like a Houston parking lot party. You know what I mean? It was dumb. It was people chilling out there, rapping all night, cameras all night, and cars. And it was bigger outside than it was inside. And we did like 3 or 4 successful ones. It didn't end the best, but we don't have to go there. There was some things that happened, but West is Major ended kind of in like a ruckus, we'll call it. But I wasn't there. I was long gone. I was at some girl's house doing my thing. I wasn't even there to see it. But we had 3 successful West is Majors. They went really well, and then Bourbon never did a rap show again. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Nah, I mean, it's just look. It's just something that people don't know is that that's a real thing that happens in this city. Is that venues will like just fucking yo. The West Island banned hip hop for 5 years while I got into the game in 2012. Like during that period, it got banned for like 5 years. No hip hop was allowed in the West Island.
Well, we were doing shows.
Like I mean, but that's Hodges' show. The whatever, I think it was like when the ban got lifted or something. Like it was something big. It was like I remember reading headlines about it or something.
I gotta tread carefully here, but Pioneer was another venue that we ended. Pioneer got really weird with us and started talking about all kinds of stuff, and we did like 4 or 5 shows at the Pioneer until we had to call them and tell them who our roster was, and then they would call the police and tell the police who the roster was. And that's when we stopped working with them. And they lost their liquor license like soon after. So it was like, even though Hodges and I meant well, like that second one, that was the end of the Pioneer. And I remember Hodges having to go on the air and like clear his name, and kind of like there was some ministers that got involved, and there was like some race cards pulled. There was some ugly things that happened there. But Pioneer didn't play fair, and neither did the police. And that was another venue. And then Scratch was the last one where we were like, we can't like keep shutting down venues. It's not a good look. Rico Blocks performed at one of the Scratch ones. I remember Mr. Bits and Dutch showing up. And then we moved to Dorval, and that's where you came in.
So I really like the way that you delicately touched on that, because there is a systemic issue of attacks on hip hop culture in this city from that level. Like serious amounts of shit that goes on. So I understand you're not able to go into details, and I don't want to be DJ Vlad. I do want to say that it is cool that you brought it up, and it needs to be kind of something people need to look into. You can go Google and read news articles on this shit. It's fun. I think Musique recently is a recent example of a place that just banned hip hop shit within the last 5-6 years.
It's gross.
So like that's why I'm glad that you said it.
It's gross and it's racist.
Because it's exactly that. Anyway. So it needs to be talked about more than it needs to delve into the details of it. But like what you said, bars collaborating with police officers to vet rappers to find out who the fuck, like that is nuts.
And then making up stories why we can't perform.
That's serious.
Making up stories, things that don't even exist, just so that there's like a thing now.
But even to that end, that explains possibly a little bit why it's hard to find a venue that'll host a rap show these days, because there's a reputation.
Because we burnt them all.
Dude, it's not even like, look, whatever might have happened, like the venue could have easily chosen to not prejudice against the entire genre.
It seems like the venues are open up until a certain point. And I like the Dorval bar because, shout out to Dave Ritchie, he ran that thing, and he honestly gave us free reign because he knew that we would never fuck around. He knew that we weren't there to cause any shit, and anytime we did, or there was shit, we held. I mean, Chris, the bouncer, took care of shit. Whenever there was a problem, Like he would grab the guy and throw him out of the fucking place, and that was the end of it. Like we had a venue that I was comfortable in, and we did probably 100 shows there. Once we found our spot, and like it wasn't West is Major with every hood in the city and 300 people in the parking lot, and it was just our like 45, 50 people, like we prospered. We had a great time. The last 20, 30 shows, I remember Hodges and I saying, like, we don't even take money anymore. We just give the money to SRH to fund his rap career. Like, it's not even about us. It's like, let's make whatever we can and give it to Ben, and Ben does something with it. Like, reinvest in the business. Those shows didn't make a lot of money though. Like, I think the best one we ever did was SoulCon. We brought SoulCon from New York, which was a crazy move. It was supposed to be Bender, rest in peace, Sharon, Pesci, and SoulCon, which would have been like single-handedly like the best rapper battle rap show with those three. Didn't end up happening. We got a couple of those names, and Sharon performed a couple weeks later or months later. But we brought SoulCon from New York, and there was kids who traveled from like upstate New York to Montreal to this bar in Dorval to watch SoulCon, which was kind of cool.
Dude,
maybe
you
like
got
100.
so
SoulCon?
well, no, but just to like the traveling thing, you did that contest, and there were dudes coming from like middle of Ontario.
Yeah. What's his name? Nate. No, Nate. What's his name?
Oh, Dan doesn't sleep.
Dan Steele.
That's it, because that guy left
Yeah.
his USB or something, and that was
Kingston.
a whole ruckamaroo or whatever. I will never forget that. It was a big like.
There was a kid from Kingston, and there was a kid from Cornwall also.
Yeah, the Kingston. Yo, that guy is so cool. But yo, that night was
Yeah.
so cool. Like I didn't even realize it was you that did that until you sent me those links in the chat. I didn't even make the connections of the dots. Like, oh shit, he knows who the fuck I am a little bit because he judged me one
A little
time.
bit. That night, I feel bad that Ben was mean to you.
Ah, it wasn't mean to me. I didn't take it like that. I mean,
You did good, because I feel like he could easily have been like a little bit of a jerk.
I don't know. I didn't. It might have been. I mean, I think there's a degree of he heard what my name was and he felt a way. To be fair, his name was SRH. My name was HSR. So, like, I can completely understand how when you find out a guy's here with basically, like, fucking 3 letters in a slightly different order, but then I'm like, yo, but it's Holden Stephan Roy. And he's like, but son of the right hand. And I'm like, we've reached an impasse where we've chosen a name for very similar reasons. And I felt like it was an understanding. And then he spent the rest of the night being like, but change your name. Like a Jewish
He
comic
didn't
would
want to
do.
get over it.
Like, but not like in a
Right.
bad way, but like in a I don't know shit all about you kind of bonding kind of way. Like that's how I
Okay.
interpreted the moment. And
Yeah,
then
like let's prove it to each other kind of thing.
yeah, like listen, I mean it is what it is. I'm not changing my name and you're not changing your name. We both happen to be here and let's be real, I got mistaken for him. He never one time got mistaken for me.
Right. Well, he
Like
was a little more established at the time,
yo,
obviously.
he is ill. Like watching his performances earlier, I was like, yo, that is before I met him.
He'd be pissed if he knew that we were watching those.
Oh, is he? I know he cleaned the
I
internet.
don't know.
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I know that one day I went to go look his shit up because I was just feeling it. There was like 1, 2 songs from him that I fucking was like bumping regular at that time because I had met him and I looked into his music. I have one of his CDs and I'm like, nah, shit, I fucks with this guy. Like I was like, whatever. If I have to, at least whatever. He's like, when you see you put money behind him, I don't think people know how good he is. Like album after album, killed the performances and shit. Like when I met him, I was like, "You're SRH." Like it wasn't like what
No,
you know.
he's real good, and he's even more powerful. I mean, he's out in LA, and this is what he does. There's 2 people since I started this, with the exception of Hodges, who kind of took a back seat to his own personal career to do bigger and better things, obviously.
He does
But
wonderful things.
oh my God, and we can get there, by the way, because the first couple tours I was with him, it was him and I. But Dirtwork and SRH, Ben, those are the only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that never did anything else and never had any aspirations but to be who they are today. Like Ben worked at the airport for like 6 months. That's the only time he ever had a job. You know, I don't think Dirtwork makes music. That's what he does. Those are the only 2 guys that I can think of since like I have known them. that have never stopped and are where they are today for that reason. You know, there were just won a Grammy. Fuck, just won a Grammy. That's my friend won a Grammy.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. And
That's so
and
cool.
Ben's out there, like, he's signed. He has all kinds of things happening. He's putting out music. You know, he's doing what he has to do. He's a full-time musician in California. So good for both of them. That's perseverance. That's doing something and never quitting no matter what. And look where it got them.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
love that energy. No, for real. Like it's pride to me. Like look at that. Like there are cool people that do things. Because sometimes there's that misconception. Yo, shut up, meticulous. I see you. That
shut
misconception.
up, meticulous.
Yeah, that's the fun part. Is like you get to see the names coming through in the chat, and it's like
I'm not on the chat, but we went to high school together. He was a great youngin.
hmm. And we
He went
learn
to
little
Lindsay,
nuggets like that. Look at that little
right? He's in
meticulous.
he's in Toronto now, right?
No, he's you're meticulous. You're back, right? I think he's back.
He's back. Okay,
I'm pretty
I
sure
haven't
he's
spoken to
back.
him in years. Again, cool dude. We never really we kicked it a couple times, probably at shows and stuff, but like never got to really get to know him, unfortunately. But
Ah,
as far as I know,
what's real
quality human.
dope is Meticulous gave us like 4 hours already, and so you can go peep that video, and then we're gonna have
Okay,
him back in April for another little bits of hours. I hope you remember Meticulous. I have you on the calendar. I need a picture. Um, but like, yeah. So, and that's kind of what this is. People who don't know you are gonna be able to watch this and learn more about you, and that's why I really
yeah,
love
man,
doing this. This is way cool, actually. Like, this is a fun way to spend a Monday. And
100%. I'm here.
like, we're still at the like kind of beginning parts of when shit got interesting.
Well, I got stoned and then I lost my train of thought, so
That's
we just gotta
okay.
get back to it.
Nah, I keep track of it all. We're at the part where you were praising Dirtwork and Hodges, and you guys were in the storyline doing a bunch of shows. Apparently, you did 100 shows in the West Island. I only heard of one.
So we did this Dorval bar. Dave Ritchie, the manager at the bar, really hooked it up to the point where like I was almost staff there, like really
But
hooked
you
it up.
guys really did like 100 shows. Like, you gotta understand. Like, that's
So
a
it was called End of the Month, and in between we were doing a bunch of other shows, maybe not 100, but 50, 60 shows at least. Um, End of the Month, what we did was we ripped off the Bone Thugs first of the month artwork, and the first of the month artwork is like drippy red font, except it didn't translate well at end of the month on a t-shirt with drippy red font. It was like, it looked like menstruation, like that time of the month. It's just like a drippy red. We never sold the t-shirt. We had to throw them all into the crowd because no one wanted to buy this t-shirt that said end of the month with like blood dripping down it. It was a terrible, terrible logo. But end of the month happened for a couple of years. You name it, like all the guys from that era, they all did at least one, if not two or three. I got a good one for you. Your boy Clarity did one of the last ones ever, maybe the last one ever. And this was during his like delinquent stage where you couldn't really tell him anything.
I'm
And
good. I'm good
him
with
and I
this
have a
story.
great relationship. Like,
Yeah,
sorry.
man. I'm good with any Clarity story right now because we
That's
boys
what I'm
at the
saying is I
moment.
know that you had that amazing paragraph and I felt kind of a part of that. So I want to tell you another good story, which is not a good story, but it's a funny story.
It's okay.
He's reckless. He's a little wild. This is still green mohawk Clarity, and he's intoxicated and he starts performing and he sees a bottle of Jack Daniels at someone's table. So there's like 3 or 4 guys sitting with a bottle, and Meyer, the shit disturber that he is, drunk, walks up to the table, grabs the guy's bottle. Like the guy probably spent $120 on a bottle of Jack Daniels, brings the guy's bottle onto the stage and starts chugging it, like disrespectfully drinking the bottle. And the guy walks up, punches him in the face, and Clarity keeps rapping, doesn't miss a beat. He takes one in the face and keeps rapping. Like he goes like this, spits some bars, the guy comes up, swings on him, and he just keeps going. And then security comes, grabs the guy. We have to explain that Clarity fucked up. We wait till Clarity's set's done. We bring Clarity outside with the guy. They have like a moment. They kind of apologize to each other. Everyone's good. We're back inside. The night continues. Performances are finished and we're hanging out. And Clarity's at the table with the guys that he drank from their bottle, which he's wasted, so he shouldn't be there. And that was the mistake, was letting him stay there. And the next thing you know, he's underneath the table and there's kicks and we got to separate them again. And at that point, people have to go home because it's just like, it's enough. You know, you guys are like, you're just starting shit for the sake of starting shit. And I don't know who's right and wrong at that point, but I remember that being one of the last Dorval shows when Clarity took a punch in the face and kept rapping.
I mean, that's an epic story. I don't care what
It
anyone
was a fun
says.
one.
Clarity, if you ever see this, it's all love. Yo, Clarity got like top performer like that year or the next year for Cult Montreal, like right around that time. I'm pretty sure part of how he wins this award is getting shit like like he would do wild shit. I watched a girl pee on stage while he was performing, and he just
Right.
kept performing. Okay, I don't know if you ever seen something like that, but that was the wildest shit I ever saw. I was on right before him. I get off. He goes on. The lady goes on and literally urinates on the stage, and he finishes
Wow.
the set. And like, what are you gonna do? Interrupt it? It was wild. It was at that
That was
grind
part
house.
of his set. Like
No,
he,
this girl just they came on. They were all
she
dancing,
just came.
and she just pissed.
Find out if he didn't plant that. Ask him if he didn't plant that. I feel like that
Nah,
might have
I
been him.
know for a fact he didn't because I was on the right before him, and we've talked about it since, and we were both like,
Okay.
nah, that was some fuck, because it was at Grindhouse or whatever, which was the
Mhm.
grimiest shit ever, and like, nah, these are just fucked up people, and this because like, yeah, for me it was cool because right before these girls came on stage while I was performing, and there was like 6 of these chicks on stage just dancing, and I'm the whole time trying to avoid them all because my girlfriend's right in front of me, and I'm like, nope, not getting in trouble
You
tonight.
gotta be careful.
Clarity comes on stage. He's also behaving. Girl still urinates, and it was just a moment that went down, and I just watched him just gracefully maneuver the whole scenario, and I always admired his ability to just do that, handle those live moments just like flawlessly.
Mm-hmm. Special guy.
Yeah, man, I'm
I
grateful to
remember.
know him.
I remember having a couple of really like deep talks with him, and like we bonded a couple times. That's a solid person right there.
Yeah, I think so. My first interview on the like actual sincere run that we started that you're on now, which is the most recent one, was when I was in Toronto, and I went to his little studio thing, and I was with him, and I'm all like sweaty and disgusting, and it's a terrible video in my opinion, because you know how it is, but like it was the first time. I'm sure Meyer liked it. I'm sure it's not a terrible video. I just, you know what it is, but like it was cool. Like he like hooked me up like that to me. It's like, yo, you didn't have to like take time out of his day to come like let me come through like that, you know.
No, he
And
likes you.
yeah, but we had to talk like that, you know. Like it's not like we're like friends. It's more like acquaintances. And so that's more of a spirit of his character at that point. I mean, now I would say, okay, I know him a little better, but even then, you know, like I know him. Now it's like different, but like I would say it's the spirit. He's just that kind of guy, and it was real cool. And then it just kind
Yeah.
of led me on this journey, and you start realizing, yo, all these artists know shit. All these people know things, and everybody knows things. So it was fun. And so now I'm always happy to talk cool about Clarity, but like, so you were effectively involved in the scene in like one of the most vibrant eras of it.
I was very fortunate to have lived in a time where Montreal rap was actually popping. And looking back, like I don't really know what's going on now, but it was wild that you had so many different boroughs, different parts of the city that all kind of fucked with each other. There was no Bergs versus DG versus, there was none of that. It was like everyone kind of came together for a common cause, and they were united for a short amount of time. There's a lot of talent, a lot. The talent pool was prevalent. It was in the forefront, which is maybe the case on the French side, but on the English side, that's rare. I don't know. Maybe it's just my generation. Like I'm thinking that my generation's the one, but I don't know of another time where it was like you had the Magnums and the Eyeblasts and the Millie Mills and the Boy Blues and all these guys that were just one after another talents, like
And
not just talents, but like they 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 did it. They made real good music,
so there's
good
a
rap music.
whole lot of people today that make real good music. It's weird. We're in a situation where at the music level, even in like the video and promo level, like there's a lot of talent. I have a 10-hour playlist right now of just Montreal, and I can put it on shuffle, and I never hear bad. Like, and people can say what they'd like about Montreal, but I can listen, and it's all within the last year. So it's like
Okay, English and French, or
all English.
okay.
I can tell you with 1,000% certainty that you can pick a lane in Montreal of any style you want, and there's at least 10 motherfuckers currently and active making music that are good enough. And I say good enough because maybe they don't have the money backing them to pull off some of the bigger level moves to get the visibility or top tier engineering or whatever, whatever. But from a talent
Is that
perspective,
necessary? I don't know if that's necessary. Top tier engine, like
I'm just
Little Wayne was putting out albums 10 years ago, recorded on a laptop. You know what I mean? And
okay.
on
Top
his
tier
tour bus.
engineering, no. Decent engineering, yes.
You got Merker.
Merker's
Merker's not expensive.
Merker's not free. Economics ain't the same
Merker's not
today.
expensive.
The wealth of the
Listen, if you're working a job, you can afford Merker.
like I'm not, I mean I'm a guy who's just okay. Look, I'm in a position where I'm just an independent artist that's paid for it myself. So like I agree with you, but I also listen to the world and know that I can afford it on a lot of privilege shit. So I don't know what other people's life circumstances are like. So it's hard for me to go on the other side of the fence and imagine it. I don't have the experience where you don't have a cushy job and you can afford to smoke the amount of weed I can type shit. So I try to take the path of empathy and go, it's more complicated. I might not be right with that, and it might be a blind spot, whereas you've seen a completely different way of pulling it off. You were touching on it a little bit beforehand. So I don't, before we went like live, with regards to the money situations and how to pull off some shit. So like, how do you get all of this put together if you're like not rich?
I mean, I wasn't making any money when I was doing rap shows. Any. That was probably as far as earning, that was the lowest point. And uh, I'm fortunate to be blessed with the gift of gab, being able to articulate, being able to explain. I have a background in sales, I mentioned. So like for me to go into a world where it's corrupt, bars in Montreal and rappers, it's like the more negative, the more like if you're a criminal, you're more respected than if you're like a stand-up guy. So to navigate through that, it was like, just be honest, be 100% and be genuine and like smile. I remember smiling at the door at like West's major shows and shaking people's hands as if it's like, Casino and I'm Robert De Niro. Like I'm happy to see you, welcome. And these
Yo,
guys are,
that's
you know,
huge. I
there was
can't.
there was
No,
a
no, but just let's pause there. I can't say that I've really gone to a local show where, like, I mean, it's not true. I've gone to a few local shows where that's happened, where they got greeted. Max Mupese is a guy who did that shit. Give him his flowers. And I remembered him for the rest of my life. I know his name and I can say it today. And it was actually really powerful because he actually took the time to stop and, like, talk to me as the promoter guy at the door and whatever. So if you're going to drop a huge ass knowledge nugget like that, we do have to stop and make sure people hear
respect.
what you just said there. That was like fucking gonna make some people some money if they write that down type shit.
What did I say?
Greet people.
At the door.
Yeah, greet them.
Uh,
Like Walmart
Not
pays
only
people
that,
to
but
do.
after 12 o'clock, the show was free. And I remember having people waiting because they couldn't afford it. I'm just like, okay, we're going to put on the fucking main event right when it becomes free so that everyone's inside now. That was another little one where it's like, it was at the West's major shows. There was probably 15, 20 people that just weren't going to pay. And I knew that they were out in the front, not paying. So it's like, everybody in now, it's time.
Yo, that's
I'm
big
sure people
too. So I mean, cause we live in a content era and where things are a little different. I don't know if the whole landscape looks the same because all the social introverts are out to play now on the internet. So there's a lot more people out there. So the landscape shifted. But if you're trying to replicate some of this shit now, getting a bunch of free people in there is way better for the gram than getting your show and not having it look cool. Because on some business tips, nobody wants to go to the show that looks like it has an empty bar on like a consumer front. Like when I see your live footage after and I'm like, nah, I know how many people are there. Like it doesn't enthuse me. I'm not saying I won't go, but I'm going on some networking shit, not because I'm thinking this is going to be the latest shit, because I saw the other 17 live shows where we all performed at, and I'm like, nah, that ain't it. You make it mad cheap and free for a couple losses here and there. You build up some brand equity and buzz. Now motherfuckers know who you are and that your shit's litty.
every month consistency or every week consistently, that kind of stuff. If you enjoy what you do it a lot and do it with a schedule so that people know when to reach you.
But
You
don't
know,
expect to make bank. That's
yeah,
huge what
but
you're
like
saying.
our shows were Sunday night prime time was branded, end of the month. So it was always the last weekend of the month. Epic Mealtime was on a Tuesday every single time. So it's like, if you can tell your fan base the day that you're coming out with your shit, or at least that proximity, they're going to check for it. They're going to remember it. And then consistency. Do what
Yo,
you enjoy doing and be consistent.
love it. And I like it
Yeah.
because, like, I mean, I try to do that. In my calendar, it's very predictable at this point. If I really care, but like, so I hear
You're
what you're
putting out
saying.
weekly?
Yo, we got almost daily
These
shit.
interviews are coming out weekly. I know you have a bunch of other things, but
Nah,
these are weekly?
thrice, 3 times a week. So it's
Okay.
Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Yeah, this is the easiest
For
shit in
you,
the
man.
world for me to do, and we don't have to edit
No, and
shit.
you're creating such an archive, and you put these out on YouTube afterwards.
Absolutely. And shout out Chris
Oh,
Crown for the clips. We're gonna get some
your
clips.
watch time, you're going to be monetized within a year, homie.
I've
Just
been
keep doing it.
monetized since 2017 or whatever.
My man,
Nah,
I thought
that's
this was brand new.
nah. I got to interview K Reno out of nowhere in like 2018 because my cousin's a super fan. So that actually was dope.
Okay, that's a big one.
I started album reviews in end of 2016. I know a lot about SEO. I worked with Justice McFly in Day Job Land doing SEO. He taught me a lot about
You know
SEO.
a little bit.
So you got to keep in mind that guy who's now doing so well in life. It's ridiculous. He's a hero. Honestly, he's a hero. That guy. Everybody should know who he is.
Justice?
Yeah. Yo, you look at
That's
his
my
life.
brother.
He's super dad, fucking flying around the world, spending rich people's money. It is like, yo, if I could have the dream corporate life, it's what he's doing, and I just admire him every day, and I'm just grateful that for I guess a little bit he played a little mentor role in my life for a couple little things here and there, and now I appreciate the blessing that is that I didn't appreciate at the time. He
Your
knows
name
it.
came up. Your name came up. I mentioned that I was doing this interview. I was at his spot. We were learning crypto together, and
That
I
sounds
mentioned your name, and I said I got this interview, and he said nothing but nice things. He said that's a stand-up cat. So it only added to the fact that I was like, okay, I'm doing this.
nah. I
You
mean,
know,
like,
CL gave the blessing, and then Justice just put it over the top.
I hope CL gives the blessing. I have.
CL and I have a music video as well. It was the last one that I ever filmed on my cell phone.
That's amazing.
We
Nah.
have a great. Have you seen I Think You Should Leave
I
on Netflix? It's
maybe
a sketch comedy,
I've not.
like mini. Okay, so I Think You Should Leave. I forget the guy who did it. It's 20 on 10 funny. Okay, check it out. Not every skit hits, but majority of them are very very good. And CL did a track called I Think You Should Leave, and I grabbed clips from the actual episodes and threw it into his video, and it's coming out in the next couple of days, or if not, like today or tomorrow.
Oh, is it a
Very
weekly
fun.
heat? Is this one?
Yeah, we have a one-eyed dog in it. We got one of his buddies.
That's
There's
dope.
there's some fun things.
I
Yeah,
promise you, if it comes out, it will be in my DMs, possibly twice. All love to Cool Man Logan, and I will give him
same.
feedback on the song, and then he'll be like, "Did I send you this?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, we already talked. We had a whole yo, did I tell you Justice is on the weekly Heat 15?" I'm like, "Yeah, we had a whole conversation about him like 2 days ago." Nah, but Cool Man
We had a
Logan,
couple.
he's one of my favorite people. Like for real, I talked to Cool Man. I never thought there'd be a time in my because I don't know who the fuck he was. Like I just knew who he was through End of the Week because he just showed up one
Mhm.
day and I watched him freestyle and I'm like, oh, I can't freestyle for shit. This was last summer.
He's one of the better ones in on the planet. So
And then at one point, we show up at a park, and I realize who he is at this point because I guess I'd seen him on Facebook, whatever, along the way. But I meet him on the free, you see him on End of the Week. Then we end up in the End of the Week barbecue, and he's tripping because he can't find a place to roll a joint, and it's COVID, so he doesn't want to share a joint with anyone. So I happen to have a bunch of pre rolls, and I give him one, and he's like, "You motherfucker! Now I have to do your interview," and I'm like, "Yeah," and then I don't know, he just started talking more and more. And now I talk to Cool Man Logan almost daily, and he's like asking me questions like why we ain't done a what did he call it? Like a live J or something, where like we smoke a joint on a call, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that's things people do. I didn't know people did that.
okay.
Now I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're homies now. Cool
it's
Man
it's a
Logan.
move.
I'm like, that's dope. So yeah, I fucks with him so heavy. He's like He's amazing. His interview, oh my gosh, that was one of the best. I was like, his mind is wonderful. It is one of the most wonderful minds I've ever talked
It's
to.
moving at such a level, you got to kind of like figure out where it is.
Oh, but I followed
You're
it. It felt
deciphering
like
his thoughts as he's talking. No, he's a special guy.
I danced with him is what it felt like. It felt like dancing,
There you go.
and I loved it, and it was one of my favorites. But yeah, uh, that's cool though.
That
That
murder face, that murder face video that we did 100 years ago. My favorite part is just the break in the action CL, and then at the end, him talking about Boreal beer.
yeah,
Like the video's fine, but CL made that whole thing for me. I couldn't not put that in the video. It's like
yeah, it's
it
so
breaks
good.
up the fact that there's so much rapping going on and so many bars. There's an intermission and then there's like a conclusion.
Yeah,
It was fun.
I agree. It makes it memorable. It make because you honestly like you can just throw the song on, right? And now you have a reason to go back to the video done tastefully, because it's just hilarious. I heard Cool Man
Hmm.
Logan's version. He's like, I don't know everybody. I just showed up. I was just whatever, and then I spit my shit, and I'm just like, yo, Cool Man Logan, you're fucking hilarious. But like, it really is my favorite part of that video. It is great. It is. It sells it. Not to say that the
Special.
rest of the video is bad or anything. I like Vince Price busting out in the middle of that hallway or whatever, but it's not
That was at Concordia.
straight up.
It was upstairs, like second floor Concordia, and we just grabbed like in between two lockers and like until we got booted out. And then we went into a classroom, we got booted out. We were just getting thrown out of everything that day. It was
Mm.
fun. And then we went outside and filmed because we were booted out of Concordia.
But
Yeah.
but even in that, right? It goes to show it's just you work with what you have and you just make do with it, and as long as you just roll them with it, you're gonna get some
There
kind
was
of
no
results.
plan that day. There was no like we're gonna do this here. There was nothing. It was
Well, you say
literally
like you guys walked into the bar and just asked if you could film because there was nobody there.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. We wanted to get like a drink in us before we started just to like loosen up a bit. And I kind of just spoke to the bartender and maneuvered a little bit. And we did the first verse in the bar and the second verse in the stairwell. It was just that's how it yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot though, because it's like it just like I pulled off a charity show by accident before COVID. It didn't happen, but it was supposed to happen, so I can say I didn't fail. But it basically was like Make a Wish and my company were doing a thing, and I wanted to fundraise with opportunities I thought were wiser. This is where I have to watch my P's and Q's. So I wanted to approach fundraising wiser. So I'm like, why don't we throw a rap show? And they're like, okay. And then I did. Like 3 or 4 days later, we had everything figured out. We found a bar that was willing to waive the fee for charity. We found a DJ that was willing to waive the fee that came with 4 rappers. So
So
it is what it is. Um, we found everything for free, including design, which was Canva, because now we live in an era with Canva, so your flyer can't ever look bad again. I'm sorry. My flyers can, because I'm not a designer, but your flyer shouldn't if you're a person, and
facts.
if you can't do it, like you're me, pay somebody at that time when
Well,
it's
Shemi used to do the flyers with me. All of our flyers were done by Shemi, and Shemi is fully colorblind. So I had to sit with him
wow.
just to make sure we got that right.
So man did all this editing and everything, and completely colorblind.
I think he sees some colors, but not all of them.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Wild, eh?
that is like that's like a way to be involved in the process too. That must have taught you a
Did
whole
all
bunch.
if you check my Facebook, all the West is Major flyers, all done by Shemi, except for the last one, and all the videos. I mean, all those videos you played before, that's all Shemi.
Yeah, it's great shit. Like I'm really grateful you shared that with me because I don't think I would have found any of those things. Because I mean, like, why would I like look for half those keywords? But like you shared that, and it's like a treasure trove of like this snapshot of this patch of Montreal people that now like are forever immortalized in a sense. Like you can
A good
go
one.
reference that shit and go make commentary on them and it would be legit because it exists.
Well, some of those guys are still active.
I'm not saying that they're not. I'm saying that
I'm
like
just in general. Some of them they still
yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I don't
It's good.
I didn't mean it like in that regard. I meant it like in
No,
the
no.
general sense of that patch of time more being captured and not requiring to talk to anybody. You could just go like look at it and just catch like 15 of these guys' live performances and be like, "Yo, this is what was here now. What the fuck, everyone?" Like, you don't need those people if you can find enough of the footage. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like from a documentarian point of view, you're never getting half these people to show up and play a schedule game with you. So you have to start thinking creatively about what exists to actually prove what exists. So just that seeing that
These
channel.
conversations,
What?
these conversations, and those videos.
Yeah,
That's all that's left.
but it's dope.
A lot of those shows, the early ones, the West is Majors, and big up to K103 because a lot of it doesn't happen without them, obviously. But full course, my brother, who else? Maybe iBlast, Guru affiliated, like these guys. It's maybe even Boy Blue. Like first performances were all on that stage. Guys that had careers way after, you know. I can't say that those are their first performances, but I know that a lot of them, it was their first performances.
Mm.
And it was just like, that's what spawned them going off and doing their things. So very fortunate to be a part of that.
No, it's mad
It
blessed.
was really special. I felt like a big shot back then, way more than the Epic Mealtime days. When I was walking around and I was like, I do rap shows in Montreal, that was the biggest chip on my shoulder of all time.
You know what
It was
though?
fun.
It's like it's cool though, cause it like you, I don't know, man. Like that contest thing you did was a big thing for me because it was the first time I had found some shit on my own. I mean, Hodges shared it on Facebook, but found it kind of on
Hmm.
my own and then like reached out. But that shit was like it wasn't just everybody came. You guys had like a vetting process of sorts, even
Hmm.
if it was fake.
There was a lot of planning. It was a lot of planning there. We
And
wanted to do like 4 or 5 of those.
and then I remember I passed, and I was allowed to come, and then Clarity was there, and I'm like, no shit, you guys put me in Clarity's tier, and you don't know what you did there. No, I mean not necessarily like the same quality of performer or shit, but like the fact is, being there at the same thing with him means I'm clearly not like the guys who couldn't be there.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we had to cut probably like half a dozen people and just be like, no, sorry guys.
so yeah,
Like your music or whatever is not on the level.
I wasn't like there. I'm not, like so I was on that side, which was like dope for me. That psychologically, it was like, like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then I got
Hmm.
mentioned in the post credit shits, like, I wish you didn't scream. Fair enough. That was useful. Nobody else got mentioned. There was 4 people that got mentioned. I'll fucking take that shit. I'll call that an honorable mention if I ever done heard some shit or
Respect.
backup
Yeah,
or whatever. So fuck that. That shit was huge for me. You guys don't even know how big that was for me because I'm
amazing.
not
No, I'm
even a
happy
year
that I
in
was
the
a part of
game.
that.
And
So that's how I know you, just so you know. Like when you said all this, like you wanted to do the interview, I'm like, of course. But I know you from that.
yeah, I don't even remember that. I
I know
didn't.
you from like the list of 12 that we had to go through and like pick who's gonna make it.
Mm, that's fresh.
Was it 12? I think it was 10.
It was 10. I remember that.
Yeah,
But that was cool.
yeah.
I mean, I don't. Dude, I was like my 7th show or whatever. I was like brand new. I thought I was good. I wasn't good. Now I'm okay. I don't even think I'm good. I'm okay.
Fair.
I lost a lot of weight. Once I get my dancing game on, I'll be good. Like the theatrical side is down. The live side is whatever. I've been doing this for 8 years now. It's what it is. You learn how to rap. But
A
like,
little bit, right?
yeah. But yeah, that show was big for me too because I saw what Clarity did to win, and I was like, okay, because there was steps
Hmm.
above. It was just steps above everybody else.
He was good that night. He was great.
I will never forget it.
Um,
Climbed on a speaker, grabbed a picture, did all sorts of shit. That I'm like, you can do that? And then I stole moves from Clarity, and it evolved my game.
Soon after those shows, the Dorval shows, Hodges comes up with Notre Home, which spawns his entire career that he's doing to this day. But Hodges starts this initiative with the Quebec government where he's going to go and sing songs and interact with English-speaking Quebec kids across Quebec and have them identify with Quebec culture and be proud to be who they are, Anglophone Quebecois in northern Quebec. And guess who's coming with to document the entire thing? It was Hodges and I in his Tercel with speakers and amps and recording studio gear, and we're just driving north. And we're stopping at every elementary school and high school along the way, and we're talking to them about being proud of themselves and being creative. Like kids would grab onto his legs and like not want him to leave, like please don't go. You know the way like they lock down the entire gym and the entire schools there? it was for David Hodges. Like we did probably 20, 30 of those. And it was all across. There's videos of all this, by the way. I filmed and edited all of them. But I remember being in the hotels at night, editing Epic Mealtimes and Hodges' stuff at the same time. So we'd spend the entire day songs of freedom and glory and hallelujahs. And then at night, I'd like have to edit maple syrup being poured on women. You know, like the contrast of the spiritual high of seeing kids, you know, gravitate towards David and filming that. And then at night, the debauchery that I had to edit, it was such a contrast for me that like, he didn't even want to hear it. He would be like, don't even show me shit. Cause like, I'm trying to stay focused on my thing. And like, you could do that at night. I don't care. But like, I don't even want to see that negativity. And I remember that like we did 20 or 30 of those, like Nutka Homes, and it became Nujanan, which is, he evolved it into like an initiative for the First Nations. And then Long Life started going. I don't know if you know Marcus. He's another videographer that's from that era. He's still videographer, photographer. He's around today. But Long Life ended up going on a couple of those. And then Dre, who was a producer, ended up being the videographer that to this day still works with Hodges and does those First Nations tours. And they have an entire record label. They produce music for all kinds of different First Nations, different communities. I went with Hodges to one when I came back. Man, to be in like those trailers where like you're in remote areas, there's no internet. I remember Hodges and I having to pick like who gets the pillow, who gets the blanket, you know, like limited resources. And, like the kids that we're teaching and dealing with, like they're crying because they've never heard their voice on recording before. And the amount of things that he was doing for them. And I'm kind of a schmuck. I ended up moving to LA and working with Epic Mealtime, and Hodges went off and did probably the most special shit I've ever heard of, which is to this day starting the record label and still goes out. I mean, COVID aside, still goes out and does makeshift like studio. He brings his entire studio and records these kids on the spot, helps them write the music. It's special, man. It's beyond special. I've been stopped in the airport twice, and not because of Epic Mealtime, because of David Hodges. And guys are like, yo, you're the guy with David Hodges. You know what I mean? Like, special guy. The most. Like,
yeah, he's just
number one.
Yeah.
As far as humans go.
I don't
like you said Tyler before, but Hodges is on that list.
That's fair.
100%.
I don't think I've ever met a person who ever said a thing bad about him. He's always been mad encouraging anytime I interacted with him, and I known him a long time. Like a long, long time.
So special. Just a good-hearted, like, awesome human being.
So it's like, it's just cool to know that that's also our culture and history as part of it. Like, Hodges comes through the scene and then just goes full altruism. Like,
he's a beast. Taking on 20, 30 different kids and recording them consistently. And all of those guys have aspirations. And he took them all under his wing and helped them record. I mean, he's responsible for the entire West Islands, like that section. You know what I mean? Like, he had his own pocket where I don't think he was working. I think the recording sessions were paying his bills during that time. So like, for him to be living at home and being like an engineer for other people, plus putting out his music, plus working on these initiatives, plus doing the shows with me, this guy was light years ahead. His brain was moving at such a level, so much faster.
Your voice just got kind of weird for a second.
What?
Your voice got weird for a second.
No. Am I better?
Nah, I don't know what happened.
My phone might be dying. It was at like 12%.
That might be it.
Hear me better?
Yeah, I cleaned it up.
You cleaned it up? Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, my phone gave me a notification saying 15%, so it's getting there.
Fair enough. Yo, that's still like crazy to be a part of that experience and just to like know that that's what he was doing and just to even share that. Like,
once we mentioned Epic Mealtime once on one of those tours where like Hodges like leans back, he's like, my cameraman from Epic Mealtime, and the kids went nuts to the point where I was signing his CDs after the show, and we both went like, we're never doing that again. Like, don't mention that. That's fucked up. Like, we ruined the attention from him went right to me, and it became a different thing, you know? So it's like, we made that mistake once and it was like, no, no, shut up. Like, we're doing this for him, not because like we're trying to exploit whatever the fuck I'm up to. No?
No, that's so honorable, but also like really responsible, and the kind of thing people should be aware of, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it wasn't for that. That wasn't what it was made for. It was a couple pictures and I'm just like, no, never again. I'm the cameraman. That's it.
So what do you do after that? I know you're involved in other things.
Yeah, I mean, after Epic and rap shows and all that, it's videography at that point because I've been doing it for so long. I was running the post production for Epic for 4 years and doing all the editing and all the extras, and it just evolved into a career. So, I mean, I have corporate clients. I advise a couple different YouTube channels. I have my own YouTube channel that I'm working on. I mean, it's a constant thing, right? Staying creative, staying busy, and making videos. That's what it's been since. Um, I don't promote those things because those are paid videos that clients pay me for.
Yeah, I
So you
mean,
won't see me like, you won't see me post those on. I'll share it on LinkedIn. If you have me on LinkedIn, you'll see stuff. But I'm not going to go on Facebook and post client videos. We did a podcast for a little bit. I have a buddy, Brian Finley, who's like my brother, and his business partner Tyler, who's a great guy as well. Uh, they have an awesome setup where they invited myself and Blessed, who I didn't know before, to come and try and do a show together. And we did probably about like, I don't know, a couple months of like trials and different types of shows. And then we settled on an interview show and we did, I don't know, 15, 20 episodes.
y'all got like
It
serious
was
fucking guests.
Bless is a serious dude. Bless is no joke. I only met Bless a couple years ago, but like I bought his album when I was in CJ. So like imagine me being Montreal hip hop like in the know and then never meeting Bless, who's like the only other Jewish guy in the game. And Brian and I put Bless and I together. We sat at a bar on DeCarry and we shot the shit and we became friendly. And we ended up doing a show. We had Snow on, which was huge for me. We had Raekwon. They grabbed Raekwon, Frenchie's one of the first people that ever put me on to any Montreal rap. First rapper to ever rap in front of me. Introduced me to Bad News Brown when I was a teenager. Like Frenchie's the OG, and Frenchie grabbed Raekwon pretty much because he has a relationship with him and brought him to Tyler's studio so that he can get interviewed by us. Like didn't even give him a chance, kind of thing. And forever indebted to Frenchie, but for a lot of reasons. But yeah, we had I mean Don on. We had all the players in Montreal. We had Phil who owns what's it called? What's the skateboarding store that kills it?
But
Snowboards, skateboards.
I'm not the right guy for that. I don't
Shit, I
know.
forget the name. We had some big time the Flores brothers, big DJs in the cities. Very fortunate to have met all of Bless's friends, and it was a great experience. Unfortunately, the show just didn't pick up in time, and they kind of simultaneously, Tyler and Brian came out with a French version of the show as well, Rap Politique, which kills it. I mean, that show does numbers, real numbers, and they're still doing that show to this day. And I think COVID had something to do with it, and the fact that it's very hard to have Raekwon on your show and then go to like, you know, whoever else is coming on. So it's like we kind of pigeonholed ourselves and like became dependent on the guest, and that's not something you want to do. You don't want to have a show that's dependent on the guest. You want to have
Yeah.
a free flowing kind of, whoever wants to come on should be able to come on. And that was always my uh insight into the show, was like be more inclusive to the guests and don't make it so like elitist. And it became that very quickly, and I think we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. But I mean, I'd be down to do it again. It's got to be under the right circumstance. And right now, to do a in-person like radio show, like that style, not for me.
Yeah.
I can't. There's not enough hours in the day. I like this one-on-one. It's beautiful, and it's from afar, so it doesn't require someone to travel
Boom.
to a studio.
Yo, you know what? It
You know,
didn't
you,
work for me until COVID really said nobody's allowed to come to your crib no more. And I
right?
had to like pivot to the live. It was a pivot move. We had tried it one time and I fucked up and I just put it off for like 3 months. But yo, the
But
scheduling
meanwhile, you have
conflicts.
crazy guests now.
Yeah, but like the scheduling conflicts. Like everyone thinks the real life's coming back and I'm going back to real life. It's like, nah, bro. We're keeping it on Zoom for the rest of my life.
This is the show.
First of all, I can't get motherfuckers not in Montreal if all I'm doing is fucking sitting there. And I got people from all over now that are talking to me, which is really fascinating and a blessing. But
Dude, Poison Pen made me want to do this.
I mean, I don't want to do that at this moment, but yeah, it was blessings. We got some
That
cool
was a
people.
big deal.
It's all, yo, dude, like, I got to talk to Direct last weekend, like all these fucking people.
That's a legend.
Like Awkwards is like coming up, like just.
Tell him I say what up when you get on. He'll get excited.
He's on
Awkwards and I are
Twitch.
like old.
He's on Twitch,
Dude.
I'm just
So
like tripping.
Awkwards and I mean, he's the homie. Like we're friends, and we were at the Disaster battle together when Math Hoffa and Disaster got into the fist fight.
No shit.
And I remember looking at him and like we're right next to the DJ booth, and I shouldn't even be telling you this, but I'm going to. In LA, it's very different. They police themselves. It's not like Toronto where you get patted down and if you have something, you can't come in. It's the opposite in LA. The people who have something in there are supposed to have something because that's how it'll get handled if it gets handled. And that night, I knew for a fact that a couple people were strapped. And when that fight went down, I looked at Awkwards and I said, I'm not going to catch a bullet. I'll see you later. And I gave him and I ran out the fucking back door, jumped in an Uber and got the hell out of there. But there was a full-on brawl, and there was people there that if they got punched, it's not punching back. There was a red camera that I remember being held and seeing the camera like getting shook while people are brawling, and there's 15, 20 people like fighting in a ring now. And like this could have ended very, very bad. We're very fortunate that nothing happened that night, but the tension in the room, even before that battle, I've never seen anything to that extent. I remember being outside and seeing Disaster and Math Hoffa. I have relationships with both of them, kind of. They know who I am. And I asked for a picture with both of them, and they both were like, fuck you. Like, why would you even start that shit? Like, don't be stupid, you know? And I was shit disturbing, 100%. I was just like, can I get a pic with? Like, they were like in each other's vicinity. And they were like, both of them, like, it's not fucking happening. And I don't even ask for pictures. I just wanted that picture. And not happening. It was major. Disaster showed up with probably a football team, and Hoffa showed up with like one dude, and like you could tell it wasn't kosher. Like it was gonna happen. Tonight's the night. Shit's going down, and it did. It was bad.
Wow.
It was real bad. Yeah. That was fuck, man. I live 3 blocks from that venue, and like I got into a cab, an Uber, because I wasn't even like risking the walk. I was like, I'm getting out of here. Not for me.
No, fair enough. That's
Wild.
That's like, yeah, that's one of those situations where like I'm like, that's 100% the things that I don't want to be around personally, just because I'm not really that kind of guy. I don't like Zoom, but like I'm also not gonna necessarily not go to a battle rap event on some fear shit either, because I don't think that's.
And I'll tell you something. It's I apologize even for going in the negative direction, because I've been to so many. Yeah. I've been to so many events where it's such a good vibe. Guys like Organic and Gully, what they do is like they take their time and they speak to the fans at the intermissions. They'll put their arm around people. They'll take a picture. It's very much a family environment. It just so happens that one event, there was a lot of built up.
I just wanted to because I mean now I'm making friends with all the battle rapper peoples. It's like a whole new adventure for me. I didn't even know.
What a great community. I was fortunate enough because I'm friends with Lowe's. And Pesci's like a god tier battle rapper, especially during that time. So a lot of those events, he would be like, and I drove, he didn't drive. So it'd be like, we get into I had a big old Fleetwood at the time, like a 3-block long Cadillac. And we'd throw the merch in the trunk and we'd just go to all these events, Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, didn't matter. Yeah, there was a time where like I didn't miss an event for 2-3 years. Where if you go on the King of the Dot YouTubes now, they'll show the staff with all their Twitter handles. My Twitter's still there to this day. So like, made an impression
Meyer
with
Clarity
those guys.
Just popped in at the point where we weren't talking about him.
When we weren't talking about him.
Yeah. Shut up, Meyer.
Rewind later, Meyer.
Yeah.
We got some good stuff about you.
That's true. That happened.
All good.
All great.
Yeah, man.
Nah, that's still blessed, man. Cause yeah, I mean, for me, it's like a discovery. But yeah, so it's fucking cool. But yeah, back to
Great
like,
discovery.
but the whole
Good
like
for you.
one-on-one interview thing, dude. This is the shit, man. We've had a couple where like another person is like there, and I find it like it's a harder vibe. Like what people, I feel like it just is, this is it, man. People want to see that conversation you would have offline that you're having online, and it's all on the reels and shit. And like, yo, you watch a million other interviews and stuff, and like my homeboy Lindell will show up in the comments and be like, "What's the top 5 rappers?" And I'm like, I mean, okay, cool, we'll ask it, but like, you know that that's on like every other interview that you're gonna, like it's gonna be there. So like, that's not a differentiators. And like we were saying, it's hard to like differentiate and come up with some engaging thing where it's not completely reliant on, I guess that's why I talk so much. I got told flat out, you don't talk enough. If you just let the rappers or whoever you're guesting talk and you don't own like a solid chunk of that time, you're never gonna have recurring fans. So
True.
I balance it out with a percentage where it's super heavy in the guest at first, but then I have to start throwing in my own life stories and shit, and that's kind of what got
Of course.
Merker Miyagi invested in me, because it was like, who's the guy behind that suit? And it's like, that's kind
It's
of what it
important
is.
though.
But if you want to know, you have to watch like 70 interviews.
I feel like you're getting more comfortable. I mean, we're going back and forth as if we're off air. You
Yeah,
said it.
but this is
There's no difference between what we were saying 10 minutes before we went on to now. It's the same tone, it's the same kind of conversation. So
yeah, but I do it on purpose. Like this is every episode. We're coming up to the 2 hour point. This is when I got pointed out to
oh yeah.
me. Somewhere around the 2 hour point, it's when the hair gets let down. I got the feeling it might not go as far. Sometimes I get a little more comfy faster. You got me into like myself and my memories, so it came in a little quicker. You flipped that on me.
Good.
That's what it was. But it's I didn't realize our stories connected. So like that, like how meaningful you were to my story like that. So I had no idea. So it was kind of big. But in general, yeah, no. By the second half of the interview, when they go past 2 hours, that's like when it's just mad. Like we just shooting the shit about whatever. We talk marketings, we talk all the things. It just
Okay.
depends who the person is and how we get to in the conversation. Like for me, it's like, yo, like we're peers discussing things peers would discuss. That's kind of like the show, but we bridge gaps because you know a lot of things I don't know. I know things you might not know. Meyer knows things neither of us know. All that kind of shit, and then we extract
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. That's why I pitched it the way I did. It's all it is. It's real simple, and then your story is just interesting. Like yo,
Thank you.
everything that you're the way you think is just so profound. Like you're the kind of guy that doesn't have to brag, and you got a bunch of trees behind you.
It's cool wallpaper, right? It's like an accent wall, right?
Ah,
See that?
that's nice.
Kind of cool, right?
Yeah, my girlfriend liked
Um,
the trees.
yeah, I got one in my bedroom too that's more of a forest. It's nice when the lights are off, it like you feel like you're outdoors. I just need some hanging plants so that like some vines come inside. That's the next step. COVID made me decorate my place a lot more than I thought I would. I spent a little bit of money on my interior decorating skills because what else are you gonna do, right? You're home. So
I decided to go live on the internet every day.
which is a great fucking move, dude.
um, I don't know. I agree. It is. I'm gonna lie. It's a fucking great move. It's working out pretty fucking
Trust me,
well for me.
YouTube wants that long
It's not
format
YouTube,
content.
man. Well, I mean, YouTube's cool, but I'm not really gaining love on YouTube right now. So that's why I moved to Twitch, actually, because the money's tighter. Like, I got my first
Okay.
Twitch payout, and I'm like, yo, that's a lot faster than on YouTube when it was like 7 cents a day for a minute. Um,
Okay.
so Twitch is the bomb. If you're ever gonna do something live, make sure you do it on Twitch because you get monetized faster with copywritten material. So what I'm gonna do actually is go through those freestyles from the noise people you described before, whose name I can't remember fully, but I know I'm gonna Google it and I have it down somewhere. And we're gonna live react to those in the future because how the fuck wouldn't I do that? You know, like, but that's the shit you can do on Twitch, where on YouTube you get popped like that. So cool, I'll
Right.
stream it to Twitch. But I stream shit to other platforms to advertise my Twitch because I don't give a fuck about the other ones. Quite the
Twitch
same.
is the format.
Because it's the
For
future.
live makes sense.
But what's the future? Is the future video on demand? Kinda. But I think the future is live VR. I'm talking 10 years.
Yep.
I'm not talking like 5 years. And I'm not even planning for 5 years. I'm always planning 10 years down the line now. So I want to make sure that even if I'm shooting myself in the foot for immediate success, when the time comes that the expertise of 10 years of fucking experience in the game comes, you're a millionaire. It's just over at that point. Like, you can just on
Fair.
corporate clients alone get consulting money like that,
Uh-huh.
and then funnel that back to the peeps. That's my dream.
You look at some of the bigger players, and like my domain is YouTube, but like you look at some of the bigger players, and uh, they're pushing towards a long format, and they're pushing towards a live format. A lot of them are doing 2 hour podcasts with like one other person, two other people. So even the old school, the
Well, I
dinosaurs,
mean,
they're coming to terms with it.
it's because of Joe Rogan, Drink Champs, and Joe Budden.
Yeah,
There's too much
it
money
helps.
attached to those three to not convince really stock like people to push this shit. But the other side is virtual reality, and everyone sees it coming. Microsoft has Altspace VR, and they just threw their big annual Microsoft's the Shit conference in Altspace VR, because what else are you gonna do? You can't go anywhere,
Right.
and you can
It's all augmented reality, fake navigating through things, right? Like actually, Genius Marketing. You know these guys?
I've heard of
I've
them.
known them for probably 12, 15 years, and they've pivoted over the years. And I mean, I got my first set of business cards. They used to do CD covers when I knew them. And they're all augmented reality, working with Panasonic and all these big names. Samsung, I think it was, not Panasonic, but and they have this platform where it's a virtual convention center, almost identical to what you would see if you were to go to a magic show or a playlist or a VidCon. Like those little booths are set up, and during COVID, it's a beautiful thing to be able to still have those platforms virtually. But I think that those platforms will exist in conjunction with the actual live events.
Big facts.
So yeah, so like all these platforms that we're seeing and all this advancement in technology, it's not like it's going to go away. It's just going to kind of aid whatever is still available in person.
Yeah, big
It'll
facts.
it'll kind of balance out. Am I wrong in saying? I think that's where it's going.
I think
Where it's
there's
like
a couple
they
of
become
things,
visual.
but I think video on demand dies a little bit. Not dies. Dies is the wrong word. But like when it comes to entertainment, think about like a live show moving forward. The labels have the money to pull this off nice. Cameras, drones, all this shit. So you're gonna spend $250 or whatever to go to the stadium event when it's in your city, but every other time you can spend $20 to watch it live. Like, why wouldn't they just make that happen? Now everybody around the world sees every show. It's a big deal. Super fans will eat that shit up. Season pass that motherfucker. Like, yo, the as a service economy is the only key thing of the future. If it's a subscription and there's something built into it with a subscription, I think it's a viable thing to care about. Now, that's where video on demand gets a little problematic. Yo, other people trying video on demand subscriptions are struggling, but people will support you a lot more for live content with I don't know why. I don't know why, but they fuck with that. So that's why Twitch builds in
Yeah,
the
it's
subscription
uncensored.
model.
It's just it's what it is now. It's the new norm.
And
I'm
like,
old school. I produce content. I overproduce content. I make videos for people that.
I was watching some of the edits in your podcast, and I'm like, yo, I don't even chop out coughs anymore.
So that's Brian. Brian's like over the top. Brian and Bless I'll be honest, I've never edited those things, but Brian and Bless would go through them with like a fine comb
Oh,
and
it
make
was
sure that there's
beautiful
nothing.
though. But it was beautiful, like the cuts, and I'm like, I never did any of that. I just
I'll show you off camera. Brian and I are business partners, and he's the best videographer slash editor I've ever met in my life. It's not even close. He should be with Scorsese filming in LA. Like it's not even. Brian Finley, remember that name?
I
He did
will.
a music video 100 years ago for Muggs. I don't know if you know Muggs. Muggs is old school.
I know the name. Yeah.
Okay, he did it. I think that's the only video he's ever done. But I'll get him back one day. We'll do a music video together, without a doubt.
But yeah, so I feel like back to that Microsoft thing. The thing about that platform they have is you don't need VR. It's just cooler with VR. So you can log on with a desktop client and be in this virtual space. And it's corny. It's corny. But corny doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's visually corny because it's like
Right.
Nintendo Wii avatar quality shit, right? Um, and then basically, right now you can go open mic. I don't know how to solve latency as a rapper, but if I had the right room or I can solve latency for Twitch. I can't do it for VR yet. But like if because of OBS is blessed. It lets you add the latency in the console. So
it does. OBS is a beautiful program.
So with OBS, I can throw a whole concert. If COVID wasn't here, we'd be doing like weekly fucking shows out of my room. Like, I swear, I had the gear in my room. Like, why the fuck aren't we? Oh, COVID. So, like, we're at that point for me. Like, yo, shit.
Soon, man.
I know, but like...
End of the summer.
But
You're good.
To do it in VR, nobody gives a fuck about us. I literally talked to app developers. I don't know how it happened, but I got into this room with app developers and pitched them music. And they're like, yeah, I mean, we'll get back to you. But you know that all they're thinking...
It's not time yet.
Because they're all thinking B2B. They all want to be Zoom 2, da-da-da. So all the people developing the tech are thinking corporate conferences. And I mean, let's be real. Why the fuck wouldn't they if we follow the money? We're probably a secondary market. And the labels do not want this to be free, widespread technology. They really aren't invested in that. So we stuck with bootleg. But Twitch is beautiful. Twitch said, oh, independent people want their music played? Okay, let me partner with everybody that's not. And Empire or Lower is now partnered with Twitch, and everybody else is with YouTube. Do you not see the cosmic music divide that's about to play out? Yo, live writing music is the latest shit right now. And it's not just like...
You did that last night, no?
I did. I wrote a whole track. I fucking love this song. It is maybe the best song I've ever written, according to anybody that my peers have sent this shit to, as far as
amazing. And you were live in the chat?
Yeah, they had
while you were writing it?
It was the weirdest shit, okay? Like, I don't think anybody wanted to chat with me while I was writing this track, to be real with you, given its content. It was an awkward experience, but I don't know what it is. Maybe just having the audience, or I just said fuck it, but it turned out okay. But the fact is, I did it all live, A to Z. I wrote the shit. I recorded this shit.
Move.
I don't do mixing and mastering, so I did not render the files for my engineer on cam. That sounded boring. But like...
That's the only part.
Yeah, but I recorded... Yo, like, I don't know if anyone's here, but shit, it's on my Twitch. You could just go fucking watch the stream and watch me like come up with the whole, like, everything. Write the hook, deliver the hook for 20 minutes.
Super creative, dude. That's a great move.
But, like, I saw other people doing it, and famous people... Yo, Mike Shinoda did it. I'm not even going to lie. I'll give credit where it's due. Mike Shinoda dropped 3 albums in 2020 called Quarantine Sessions, which were tracks written with the Twitch audience there. So I'm going to give credit where it's due. So, like,
that's awesome.
I look at it like you have that, and it creates an as-a-service economy. Our rappers and shit need to stop selling products and start selling themselves because, yo, I have not tried to sell a record, and somehow I've made more off of not selling music than I have selling music.
Always.
So it's like, I mean, cool, we can promo whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I might push a song or I might do marketing campaigns, but this song...
Music's still important, but that's not going to pay you.
Well, I feel like not one of these things will pay me. It's me developing a skill set that makes me valuable, right? Because, yo, people are into, like, a lot of things because they see commodities as a way to gain value in life. And I think that everything I do is in the pursuit of skills, and diversity of my portfolio as a skill set. And so I treat myself like a cryptocurrency market. I say that because cryptocurrencies are not currencies. They're digital assets like gold. Have fun with assets you can't spend anywhere is basically what it
I feel you.
Anyway,
I feel you. It's strictly digital.
Yeah, so I mean, it's cool for certain things. Like if you want to cop a Tesla, when somebody inflates the value of it, so you can cop a Tesla. But otherwise, yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, that's cool.
It's only gonna grow, dude. It's only gonna get bigger.
I don't know about.
You're in the right lane.
Sorry?
You're 100% in the right lane.
Yeah, but I mean, you should do some shit like this. You should get into the Twitch game.
I did. In 2010, I was pretty big on YouTube.
Well, I mean, the Twitch game. I would love to see.
Yeah, you know what? A couple people have said that, and there's just not enough hours in the day is the truth right now.
Yeah,
if I'm going to do something, I want to be passionate and I want to be able to do it for like a long period of time. I don't want to do it for like a 10 episode run kind of thing.
That's fair. It's not all of us have looked at 1 million views an episode type shit in our lives.
I also have a lot with a couple hundreds, so depends which platform. Yeah, man. It was a good time.
I mean, it's cool though that you did all that. Like I say, with all the love. Sometimes you forget that some people have done some very impressive things. But I say it like when I say people should be on Twitch, it's always selfish. It's because I would fuck with you. I would watch your shit. I don't know what you would do, but
thank you.
I bet.
We had a gaming channel back in the day. I used to play NBA. There's a couple of live streams online. It's called OG, Original Gamer. And I used to play NBA and just hang out and talk to people. And then Dave had a Twitch stream for a couple years, I think like 2 years. So I'd go on his Twitch and we'd get loaded and play video games. But I never developed my own audience. I never got into it because when Twitch came out, it was video games only.
Yeah,
It was
it
Bob
wasn't
Ross and video
this.
games.
I did not.
Sorry?
I didn't want to go on Twitch for a long. I think the biggest mistake I made was not being on Twitch for 4 years. If I had to think
Right.
critically, had I been on, fuck. Anyway, that's one of those what I should have done instead of like 6 months or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But like, yo, but it's because you didn't think of Twitch like that. There was like what 2
No.
podcasts on Twitch, and like it was just a bunch of games. And more than that, the community was weird. I've never really enjoyed gaming communities as a member of the group gaming communities. I don't play online games. I'm just not into that world, so it didn't seem very appealing to me. Not to say
No,
that
me
it's
either.
bad. I'm just saying I don't understand the jokes. I don't get the nomenclatures and shit. So like I got into music Twitch though, and I'm like learning about like fucking soca with Preach and Kobe on Fridays, and everybody's like happy, and people are throwing twerk emotes, and I'm like,
This
this
is
is
special.
bless. So currently what I'm going through is like this DJ revolution on Twitch where it's like I'm discovering local soca tracks and shit. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
this is fucking amazing. I'm just waiting for all the musician peoples to come join me on Twitch. I'm just waiting for it. Imagine the creative buzz that would come from like the whole city creating on Twitch.
Do it.
I'm trying.
You're on your way.
I'm literally trying.
You're on your way.
Half of the reason I brought it up is to preach it to the peoples. If they're like,
Yeah,
Let Me
of
Know
course.
says it's a good idea, maybe it's a good idea.
No, it sounds like you're in the process. It already is, and it's bigger than an idea. It's happening.
Well, for me, but I want others to join the quest and journey because it's not a solo game. This shit does not work by myself. Like if like I'm alone doing it to like 4 viewers, 10 viewers, even if I'm doing it to 300 viewers, that's not like it. It comes when we doing raid concerts. It comes when we doing shit that can't be done by myself because I can't let nobody in my crib, and we could be doing so much more if there were others.
Fair. And it takes time to build, but I like that you're already thinking 3 to 10 steps ahead of it. You know what I mean?
A lot of steps ahead.
There's
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's certain things that you want to happen.
Oh, big facts, man. I've been thinking about this for like since I met Marty.
Perfect.
That's how I know him. I know his name is Justice. Sorry, whatever.
Oh, there's a couple different names, but yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, sure.
5% battery, dude. I'm almost done.
Yeah, I figured. I knew I was trying to time it and realized we were at the end. But yeah, this was great. I appreciate you coming through. Honestly, this was
Appreciate
like a
you.
big pleasure. Your story is just full of a lot of insight. Like you've done some incredible things. You are undeniably a legend because of the
Thank you,
things
sir.
you've done, and people talk good about
I'm
you.
an eternal optimist. I enjoyed every step of the way. All those stories that I told, every single one of them, I had a good time and a smile on my face. That's the difference. Is they're all good stories. Even the ones that were kind of fucked up, we were still smiling and having fun. So
It's blessed, and it's important.
very,
to
very
have fun.
fortunate.
And
Very fortunate.
people always say good things about you when your name comes up, and that's usually where it gets.
Yep.
Your name comes up, so that's how you know you're in a good place. Is if your name comes
Well,
up.
you're friends with my friends. Vince and Ciel are like two
But
of my close friends. So.
Fair, but your name came up outside of them. People,
Okay,
people
fair.
know who you are. Like you're not like a completely unknown entity. Like people know. Let me know. Okay, like
I put in a little work.
So it's like, your name doesn't, I got like people going, oh shit, on like the Insta and shit. I didn't make that up. It wasn't me. Don Smooth was excited. Okay? Don
Love
Smooth.
Don. Love
So-
Don. Don's been straight up with me since day one. Love Don. Nothing like genuine quality human being. You can see when you look at him that this is a good person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
Just
great.
a smile, like I want to hug him. Love Don Smooth.
But yeah, also thank y'all for watching though, because as much as it's great to have Let Me Know share stuff, without the people watching both now
Thank
and
you,
in the
guys.
future in that on-demand thing that is still prevalent and useful in this day, y'all are wonderful and we appreciate y'all for real. So, if you're feeling it, definitely make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow whatever platform you're on. I'm on like so many platforms, I don't know which ones. If there's even a
Subscribe.
follow.
That's the big one, right?
I know,
Subscribe.
but I have more fun with it this way because subscribe means something else on Twitch. And follow and subscribe are not the same on Twitch line. Which brings me
Subscribe
to
is
special thanks to the Patreons, Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Pratt, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do. And if you on Twitch and you support what we do, you can hit that subscribe button with that Amazon Prime. It's mad free. And if you in the future, patreon.com/behind that suit. Y'all figure it out. It's all linked below. Also, let me know shit's linked below. Everybody's shit's linked below.
Thank you, man. I had a lot of fun. I hope you everything that you want and more comes from this.
Honestly, I'm learning every time. It's like getting like you know like you watch the TED Talks or the Royal Institutes, and we're just doing that here with people here. It's kind of beautiful. Basically, nobody will ever be able to tell me Montreal ain't got talent ever again.
Facts.
Can't. It's impossible. And that's why it's beautiful. Anyway, on that note, everybody, I don't know who we're going to raid. Let me check that right quick so that we do it. Ismail, I'm just going to pick somebody. Don't redeem a raid. We'll pick Mers. Fuck it. You like Mers. That's right, Mers. Mers from fucking wherever. We're going to just go raid him. Inevitably, he'll see me raiding him a bunch. Maybe he clicks on my shit. You never know. But yo, live long and prosper, everybody. So I get the fucking that part.